talkSPORT.
Good afternoon, I'm Toby Gillis. Thomas Tuchel switching to a back five at 1-0. Changes described by Jamie O'Hara as a disgrace, by Gabby Agbonlahor as 10 times worse than Southgate, and by Alan Pardew as lacking awareness. So are the FA right to be backing him through to the next Euros? These fans in Atlanta are not convinced.
I'm just not sure they were with what he was looking for them to do. I'm going to be honest, I'm just not 100% sure. I'm not quite sure what he was trying to achieve.
Tuchel's done very well, but this was a golden opportunity. Our team, I think, are just as good as theirs.
We all thought he was a tactical genius, but today, I'm sorry, we surrendered the game.
Or was this Mark Gahey even admitting the boss got it wrong?
Kind of felt like we scored and then the mentality was go back, defend. So yeah.
Meanwhile, if it wasn't clear before, Argentina's players won it last night, not just for the football, but for the Falklands, unveiling a banner post-match, laying claim to Las Malvinas, which of course is what they call the islands. Now Downing Street is calling for FIFA to investigate whether that broke the rules. Number 10 says the World Cup might not be ours, but the Falklands definitely are. It follows these comments by Business Secretary Peter Kyle earlier.
Of course, it's entirely inappropriate. Politics should stay away from football. That is a very clear principle of the World Cup. But any consequences that come from that is now a decision for FIFA.
We have the dreaded bronze medal match for England live on talkSPORT against France on Saturday night, followed by the World Cup final, Spain-Argentina on Sunday. In other football news, talkSPORT understands Liverpool have an agreement in principle with Dominic Szoboszlai over a new deal. Terms are in place, although nothing has yet been signed. Craig Gordon has announced his retirement from football after becoming the oldest player to play at this year's World Cup, aged 43. And at the Open, we've an Englishman as part of the joint clubhouse lead. Daniel Brown, one of two on 4 under after his first round. You can hear live commentary of the likes of Scotty Scheffler and Tommy Fleetwood out on the Royal Birkdale course at the moment over on talkSPORT 2.
talkSPORT News.
2 men have been jailed for hacking into the TfL network in 2024, and British Steel is now under public ownership. Tom has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 600 centres across the UK, most of which open 7 days a week, we're always there when you need us. QuickFit. Drive away happy every time.
Staying dry with long sunny spells, very warm and hot in the south. There's the chance of an isolated thunderstorm in the far southwest.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. So Argentina sends England home. New manager, same old England? Did we witness a sorry tactical surrender? Meanwhile, does Tuchel deserve the chance to take England into Euro 2028? Also today, were Argentina always motivated by more? Has Kane played his last World Cup match? Would Conor Benn be an unloved world champion? And another landmark ruling for a 1966 World Cup winner. But will it lead to change? Jim White and Simon Jordan, we're live on talkSPORT. Normally, in the little walk that I have from my apartment here on the South Bank round to the studio, I am stopped by various individuals. Tell Simon I love him. Is Simon on? How's Simon, Jim? This morning, it seemed like everyone was asking me, you on at 1 with Simon? You on at 1? Yes, I will be. I even get into the reception area of the news building. Your old chum Chris Evans is up at me, complimenting us for our the work we did in New York, I have to say, which was very kind of him. And how's Simon today? So how do we find you today after that last night? World Cup dreams over again. Argentina send England home. And now we know the dream is no longer. What do you think? What we got here? New manager, same old England.
Poor management in that game. I mean, everything I expected Tuchel to exhibit in a massive game, he didn't. Not necessarily from the team selection, but from the tactical deployment and the change of direction that I anticipated he would take when the moments of adversity came was not there. In fact, he compounded the problems. He exacerbated them. Oof. He did the polar opposite of what I expected him to do. He did the polar opposite of what he said himself he would do when he talked about the lack of achievement in the Euro 24 team and the reasons why it was more interested in staying in the tournament than winning the tournament. Yeah. He exhibited all those characteristics. I mean, realistically speaking, my first reaction was, this is bloody negligence. This is absolutely appalling management in terms of the way that he operated at that time. Now I've calmed down because I wanted to kick the television through the...
You thought negligence? I mean, what did I just think it was a sorry tactical surrender?
Well, I mean, look, you've got to work your way through some of the things, like going back to the Gabriel Clark interview and talking about the question that he posed to Thomas Tuchel about the mentality of players. And this mentality question was interpreted by Thomas Tuchel as a slight upon their indomitable spirit. Mentality isn't just about your winning spirit. It isn't just about your bulldog or your ability to overcome adversity. Mentality is about the stability of how you operate in your life and all the different facets of the attributes that bring out your character, and also bringing out a mindset that once you pass adversity, you create a different landscape for your life, so you don't have to be in adversity again. Yeah. So he took it as questioning the spirit and pushed back against it. It lends me to the conclusion, like the use of the word repulsive around Jude Bellingham's behaviour 6-7 months ago, that sometimes Thomas Tuchel doesn't understand the language that's being utilised around him or the language he's using himself. Right. Now, that doesn't mean that necessarily that explains the decision-making process. But you look at that and you say there's one of two things. Either he didn't believe in those players or he's a coward. Because to make the decisions that he made, to be able to allow the players themselves decided after they scored a goal to drop and decided to allow the Argentinians that came onto them. But rather than change that, he decided to support that decision, back it up, and take off 3 players and bring on 3 defensive players. So now we have no legs in the team. We have nobody picking up. We decided to seed the midfield. We allowed Lionel Messi to get on the ball now and do exactly as he wants. So Declan Rice comes off. Anthony Gordon comes off. All the legs goes out of the side. And we've now got a defensive outcome that is inviting the problems that we had. And Thomas Tuchel made that decision. So whilst we can compare and say same old England, the comparison between Southgate is that Southgate didn't make a decision. Thomas Tuchel did make a decision. He made the wrong decision.
Right, because before the tournament, this was meant to be the elite manager. Totally. With the elite winning gene.
Indeed.
And we're talking negligence. Are you serious? Cowardice.
No, cowardice. Well, I think it's a cowardly decision. Why would you, with all the attacking power that we've got, with the legs that are required, why would you sit there and decide that from the 55th minute, the England players themselves, the mentality of the England players, and I don't know why, of themselves, was to drop for 17 minutes until such a time as Tuchel thought, I know, I'll intervene. And rather than change that mentality and move us up the field and give us an output ball and get some legs in the side, he decided to say, well, actually, I'm going to double down on the desire to defend this game out and see it out. I'm going to put defensive players on. I'm going to take my legs out of the team. I'm going to cede the midfield to the Argentinians. And I'm going to continue with what you've decided to do on the field. Now, that to me is perplexing.
So I'm going to put something to you now. Was this more cowardly than Southgate ever did?
I don't think Southgate was cowardly. I don't think he had any inspiration. I think he sat.
Was this worse than what Gareth did?
Well, this is why I use the term negligence, not because I want to throw it around loosely and make it a soundbite, but
that's a yes, isn't it?
Because you look at it and go,
that's a yes.
That's poor, Thomas. And the interview afterwards, mate, I'm all for you being robust. I'm all for you calling things as you see them. And there's an argument to say it's wonderful that he called out the England players. Alex Ferguson did it once, didn't he, after Aberdeen won a final. Yes, But do you know what he did after that? He wrote in his book that he'd never do that again because he thought it was weak to have done it. Right. So Thomas Tuchel, sitting in a press conference afterwards, drinking his own Kool-Aid about the fact that the team didn't respond. You, my old son, were responsible for that performance and for that outcome.
Simon, an enormous number of messages coming in at the moment. And this is the theme. So I'm going to ask you basically the question that comes out, the theme of it. Was Gareth Southgate not the problem after all? Does Gareth deserve an apology from you?
No, two things can be true at the same time. Two things can be true at the same time.
No, hang on.
No. Two things can be true at the same time. You can have a situation where inspired decisions were required at the time to be able to overcome the Italians, the Croatians, the French, and not so much the Spanish, right? In the last European Championship, because I think the Spanish were just a far better side, and we were never really in that final, as far as I was concerned. So you can have the observation that it required an inspired decision. So now you get Tuchel in there, who makes decisions, who takes control of circumstances and does things slightly differently. And you look for him to make an inspired decision, and his version of an inspired decision is a bad decision. So he makes a decision, which I cry out for. I cried out for Gareth Southgate. For Christ's sakes, change it against the Italians. Do something against the Croatians. Stop using a tired, old Harry Kane up front that's got no legs left at the end of a game and put some pace on that. But you didn't do it against the Croatians.
So he was appointed to be the difference.
And so all of the belief systems...
He's done worse, has he?
Well, he hasn't done worse, but he hasn't created the outcomes that I expected from an elite manager that I believe that he exhibits the pedigree of. It might explain the reasons why Bayern Munich got rid of him. It might explain a whole bunch of things. But you look at that decision and you go, until he explains the thinking behind why he didn't believe in his own players or why he made a tactical decision to decide, despite the fact they were getting a lot of crosses in, despite the fact they were getting a lot of possession, the best way, his own coach said at half-time, the best way we can play this game, Anthony Barry, is in their half. And get the ball. That's how. Now, what we were doing that up until the hydration break. Then we fell away from doing it. We need to do more of it in the second half. So it would appear to me that the worst thing that we could have done was actually score a goal.
Right, but I think if this was Gareth Southgate last night, you would be wading into him today.
How much have I just waded into Thomas Tuchel? I've just called it negligence.
But you, before last night's game, were drinking the Tuchel Kool-Aid. Were you not?
I was believing...
You'd bought right into it.
I was believing that if you put a manager that's won things and has exhibited the characteristics to be able to overcome significant adversity and better sides, like his Chelsea side did against Manchester City, and has been a constant winner and a constant roller coaster of big sides wanting his services.
Domestically.
And I also have been critical of him domestically about his behaviour, right? So we can.
But do you still think he's an elite manager?
I think that was a dreadful set of tactical decisions. But I live in.
Do you still think he's an elite manager?
I think that was a dreadful. I think I made a point yesterday about when you're under pressure situations. I was talking in relation to Gabriel Clark again, and good top people in pressure situations thrive under pressure.
Yeah,
he didn't. So
you were strong on Southgate. No, he's not an elite manager.
No, he's not.
So is Tuchel an elite manager?
Not by that performance yesterday.
That's a no.
Not by that performance yesterday. No.
That's a no.
Not by that performance yesterday. No.
Martin Samuel in the Times, the disease remains and is as contagious as ever. Different group, fancy new boss, same dispiriting outcome. When England went ahead, their plan was not to concede. It never worked for Southgate. It didn't work for Tuchel.
Different though is Tuchel.
So here we go.
Changed it. Tuchel made a change. And the question is, why did he make a change that didn't create outcomes for the Argentinians?
So what trap, Simon, have you and others fallen into? Not enough credit given to Southgate or too much credit given to Tuchel?
I gave loads of credit to Southgate in terms of the platform we built off. I maintained
Simon, you called him four-leaf clover boy.
And I call the same thing to Tuchel.
So what's Tuchel?
Because Tuchel had the same draw. I looked at it the same way with Tuchel. I said 2 days or 3 days ago, he has had the same sort of draw as Gareth Southgate.
Yeah.
This is the moment. The Argentinian game is the moment that defines whether my thinking is right or wrong.
Right.
And my belief system about bringing in a top manager that's won things is going to manifest itself at international level. And the moment came, and he flunked the exam. And I'm sat there watching it going, and I'm then watching his interview after the game, and I'm thinking to myself, this is not right what you're saying.
Right.
This is not right what
We're going to hear from Tuchel the other side of this break. Is the cold hard reality, Simon, is it this? England, forever the bridesmaid, 60 years on, are they the greatest nearly men on the international stage?
But it's an embarrassment, isn't it? When you actually sit down and distill it, and the world doesn't stop and wait for anybody, but it's actually an embarrassment to British football, to English football. I mean, obviously you Scots will be having a field day right now, but the bottom line is that for English football, it's an embarrassment. We've got this huge ego about our league. We create these songs that we live and die by, that constantly get trotted out, and people think they're wonderful to play out, and I don't. And that we turn up in tournaments and we don't win. The Greeks won the 2004 Euros. Everybody seems to win something. The French have built teams, and their teams, when they actually get into semi-finals or finals and lose them, they come back and win the next version of it.
Yeah.
We don't. And we had everything in our favour. We had a favourable group. We had decent draws like Southgate got. We got Norway rather than one of the other sides. We got Argentina rather than Spain or France. We got it all in our camp. It had nothing to do with bad decisions, bad referees, lack of fortune. This was just a bad performance from the manager.
Maybe England just aren't as good as you thought they were.
Listen, there's no shame losing to the Argentinians, but there is shame in the one that we lost. We capitulated. We gave that.
I'm going to pin you more the other side of this break. We're going to head to Atlanta to speak to Stuart Pearce, England legend, very shortly. Just as we're going to this break, give me a rough idea of where your mind is. Should he carry on in your view?
No, I think the FA should fire him. I know it's very reactionary.
They should fire him.
Yeah, I think it was ridiculous them giving him a job for post the tournament, prior to the tournament. I think his sole focus in life was to get into the mainstay of this tournament. If an opportunity was there to take it, the opportunity was there. This Argentinian side are not mugs, but they're not world beaters. They're a decent side. We gave them their head, and Messi is a fabulous player. He's gone from a winger now to a number 10 that can just do what he wants, right? He's a playmaker. He's a fabulous player, right? But by Christ, did we help him? You know, did we make it easy for the Argentinians?
Do you want him fired? You would think he should be fired.
I think there's more reasons not to have Tuchel going to Euro 28. He's a hypocrite. First of all, he doesn't do what he says he's going to do. Second of all, he clearly doesn't believe in the side. Third of all, he makes tactical decisions. When it comes on top, you get one moment in life. You get one opportunity to create a first impression. You get one moment in life. And if it's there and you've got to take it, you've got to make it. His opportunity was to change the way that team was setting up in the second half, and he didn't do it. And that, to me, means there's something missing in the capability of Thomas Tuchel at this level, whether it's because he's got a Germanic mentality and he doesn't communicate very well, he's better at a domestic level because he can work with his players on a daily basis.
But you want him gone?
I don't. I think there are more reasons to not have Tuchel than there are to keep him there.
You heard Simon, and I pushed him, and he said it. So what do you think? Tuchel, does he deserve to go on after what you witnessed last night? And what did you witness last night? Because from Anthony Gordner's opener in the 55th minute and Martinez's winner in the 92nd minute, 12% possession England, 88% Argentina. What did we witness? New manager, same old England. And are you in Simon's camp? He should go. They should fire him. 03717 223344.
Couldn't get anywhere near Spain, could they, in the midfield? Do you think that the manager should have made a change at half-time? Maybe Digne come off for Hernandez, and also maybe an extra midfielder come on for an attacker?
Well, the fact that Rabiot left at the half-time because he received straight away, yellow card. He was probably our best player on the pitch for the first 45 minutes. But anyway, you could have changed the entire team, against Spain in the half-time. It would have changed nothing. So I think we looked so nervous, so far away from our level. Tactically and technically, we were so poor. Credit to Spain. They really deserve to win. They play really well. I thought that we were different with what happened, 4 years ago. But it was kind of the same game. And they control everything. We had no inspiration, no creativity, no personality. And it was so sad to watch them because I had the feeling watching the game that it was kind of the same game against Morocco, But
do you know what was baffling me, Emmanuel, was whenever you won the ball back, just give the ball away cheaply. Everybody was. No shots on target.
We were so far away from each other, Yeah. So, I think tactically we lost the game. But technically as well, we were so poor, But we looked so nervous. So I still don't understand what happened yesterday. There's so many things that we're missing, in that game. And that's why I think we should get over it and still work on it. And but Spain are still our worst enemy, actually, and it was a lesson of football yesterday, to be honest with you.
Get Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
talkSPORT's Weekend of Epics with The Odyssey, the blockbuster new film from Oscar-winning director Christopher Nolan, in IMAX and cinemas everywhere tomorrow.
Yep, let's look back at last night's epic semi-final between England and Argentina with Christopher Nolan's epic new film, The Odyssey. We're going to do that right now and head straight to Atlanta, Georgia in the USA and speak to England legend Stuart Pearce, who was on co-coms duty for talkSPORT last night. Stuart, hi to you, mate. I know you're sometime behind us. It's 1:20 in a very warm afternoon here in London. World Cup dream is over again. Argentina send England home. Simon says Tuchel should be sacked by the FA. Do you agree?
No, I don't. I think it's a ridiculous statement, if I'm being honest. What happens was, I remember Simon saying that Southgate's a born loser and Tuchel's a born winner. You know what I mean? So somewhere down the line, I said before the tournament, when you go to tournaments are quite unique, and it probably takes you a tournament to understand the runnings of them and whatever. No matter how much club football you've got, going to a tournament is slightly different. And for me, it would be like throwing the baby out with the bathwater at this stage. You know, he's had a tournament, he gets to understand the runnings of a tournament. I think from his perspective, I think he'll gain from that, and it'll be a good education for him. But we come up second, Jim, yesterday to a very good side who had a world-class player that got them over the line. He won the World Cup for them 4 years ago. And if Argentina are going to win the World Cup again, Messi's going to be integral with that. Yes, you can say that there was maybe one or two tweaks in the formation, the substitutions. We brought Argentina onto us that were costly. I take that. But in the heat of battle, when you know the game's going away from you, you've got to do something. And he went back to a formula that he used in Mexico. But that wasn't the right formula because they had Messi who played outside the compactness of our press and went on the wing, and the best player on the pitch had the most room on the pitch.
Right.
And that is dangerous. You always say the best player, deny them space. We didn't.
Stuart, Simon's sitting right beside me. You heard Stuart there. It would be crazy to sack Tuchel. He says absolutely not.
First of all, I didn't call Southgate a born loser. What I said was he didn't have the winning gene, and that's been proven as a matter of course. What I expected Thomas Tuchel to do was make the difference. And I can't understand the defence of a set of decisions. It's one thing surviving against Mexico. Is that the DNA of this England team? That we go into games, we take off Declan Rice, we cede the midfield to the Argentinians, we take the legs out of the team, we compound the team, deciding that they're going to drop and allow the Argentinians. And our manager, rather than inspire the team and recognise that the best way to get out of the problems that we're in is probably give Argentina some problems, exacerbates and compounds and makes the most absurd set of tactical decisions I've seen from an international manager at that level in such a long time, Stuart. And we'll disagree on this one because you obviously believe that he's worthy of another choice, another chance. I think he was brought in to make the difference. and to learn the lessons from Southgate. And yes, he made a decision. Southgate didn't make decisions. Southgate sat and waited for things to happen. Tuchel made a set of decisions and made the situation worse. There has to be a consequence for that.
Yeah. I mean, Stuart, when he made the decisions last night that he made, what honestly were your thoughts at the time? Did you think, oh, this will work? Or did you think, Thomas, what are you doing?
I thought it would just bring Argentina onto us, Jim, if I'm being honest with you, and camping in and around our box wasn't the way forward. For me, the best way forward would have been play a 4-4-1 formation and assign probably Jed Spence to man Mark Messi, because make no mistake, he was the one who changed the game. He was the one who identified, hang on, it's too tight in the middle for me. I'm just going to go and stand on the right wing and just give me the ball. And when it comes to me, I'll deliver world-class crosses that create scoring opportunities, or I'll beat somebody, or I'll draw 2 or 3 England defenders to me and free up space for other players. That would have been the way forward. Listen, it's easy in hindsight. For me, just knocking Messi out the game. And when you look at all the winners of major tournaments at World Cup level, they've all got a superstar in their team. You go Pele, you go Maradona, you go Messi. They've got their teams over the line. Zidane, you might say, for France a few years ago as well. They've had that superstar, and not just a top quality international player. I'm saying a superstar that can win games on their own. And make no mistake, Messi won that game on his own for Argentina. Yes, he had a supporting cast around him, but he was outstanding.
Stu, when you saw the appointment of Thomas Tuchel, I mean, in an ideal world, you probably would have, if Gareth Southgate had been mindful, you'd have probably been in the camp of keeping with him. But he made his own decision, he wanted to go. When they brought Thomas Tuchel in, which I was very much in favour of, what did you think his brief was? What did you think was the difference between Thomas Tuchel managing England, in the eyes of those that employed him, was likely to be?
Yeah. Same as you, Simon. Take us to the next level, and he hasn't done that. That is for granted. But
so why are you
because
so
I've
why
been
are you
in
so
these
offended?
tournament
So
situations.
why are you so offended, Stu, and robust about the fact that he didn't do it? He compounded the problem in the one game in the tournament where you needed the tactical genius that we thought he deployed and he would bring to bear. Why are you so adverse to the idea that that has to have a consequence?
Well, because I think there's a learning curve to be had here by going to a major tournament. And you might say to me, well, he shouldn't have that learning curve. You know, his job is to come in and give us immediate effect. Going to tournaments, I've always said, is slightly different to actually club football and what you do club-wise. I think he's a better manager today than he was yesterday, because of the experience he's had at this World Cup. Now, where do we start again? Who is the next candidate to come through the door is the question.
Did you hear him? I hear that argument too. Did you hear him being a better manager in the press conference afterwards, where he appeared to take no responsibility for the decisions that he made? He apportioned blame to the players. It's one thing we all love a manager calling out players and calling out the circumstances and saying the game wasn't very good and admiring that. And Ferguson did it once upon a time for Aberdeen. Everyone loved that. And then he wrote in his book he'd never do it again because it was weak. He then, after the game, in this game, Tuchel, did the same thing again. He talked about the passive nature of the players. His job was to inspire those players, not to compound the problem, not to accept that England had dropped for 17 minutes and then bring on Konza, take off Declan Rice, which frees up Messi, and take Gordon off, and we've got no pace, no outlet ball. His job was to inspire the team, not to turn it into a worse set of circumstances than the team were already creating for themselves. And that's why I'm so up in arms about Thomas Tuchel and so robust in this sort of reactionary response of saying, well, I don't see why he gets to stay.
Yeah, listen, I can't defend some of the substitutions he made. There's no doubt about it. All it done was bring Argentina onto us. And to be honest with you, in a game that we lost by the odd goal, they hit our post twice and Pickford made an outstanding save. So it could have been a lot worse than it actually was. Let's make no mistake about that. I'm not defending the performance, but the bottom line is, if you make a change now, I'm defending the making of the change.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't see where we go and what direction we go from there. We're scratching our heads tomorrow morning if Thomas Tuchel is sacked, and then we go from there. And that's the problem we got. And then we send another experienced manager, potentially, who's maybe a rookie at major tournaments. And that for me is a dangerous thing to do.
Sure, I know it's early morning in Atlanta. Very kindly, you're going to stay on for us. The other side of this break, we'll come back to you. for the moment. We were reviewing last night's epic semi-final, The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan. Don't miss one of the greatest stories ever told, starring Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o and Zendaya alongside Charlize Theron. IMAX cinemas everywhere from tomorrow.
Talk Sports Weekend of Epics with The Odyssey. Experience the epic cinematic event of the summer in IMAX and cinemas everywhere tomorrow.
Mick McCarthy joined Simon and Piers, decided to take Piers Morgan on regarding an incident way back in 2009 when, as Wolves manager, he rested a number of players for a trip to Old Trafford.
I've always respected you hugely, genuinely, as a manager.
Except when I dropped 10 players at Wolverhampton.
Yeah, well, that was terrible.
You did say something that I was particularly unhappy about.
I thought it was shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. Well, what was your problem with what I said? You must have known I was right.
You're never right, mate. you just antagonise people with your comments, which you're doing on this show quite clearly. No. So when you said it, my job is to win games.
Yes.
We went to Spurs the Saturday before. We won 1-0 with about 35% possession. We've got Manchester United on the Tuesday. I went there and I dropped 10 players. I have a squad of 22. If I'm a manager, it's my right to manage that team how I see and get results.
And it's my right as an Arsenal fan who you were directly impacting with your cowardice
because you weren't good enough because you weren't good enough to win the title, and Sir Alex won it again, and he won it. You weren't good enough, so you blame me, which is real bad on my part.
Now I know what Roy Keane's problem was.
No,
just to be clear, by dropping 10 players, you let United walk all over you, which had a direct impact on my team's chances of winning the league. I thought that was an appalling abrogation of your duty as a manager to entertain the fans with the best available team.
Clear you up. My duty was to beat Burnley on the Saturday, and we did.
Well, Mick hasn't forgotten, has he? That's for sure.
Oh, no, he went further than that. He said that Piers was a purveyor of the wrist action. Went into that sort of territory, which I was inclined to agree with.
Iconic. There's no other word. An 18-carat gold trophy that owns the world, and it waits. It waits for 4 years. It's 1971, and FIFA need a new trophy to replace the Jules Rimet, so they launch a worldwide design competition. And in his studio in Milan, 50-year-old sculptor Silvio Gazzaniga immediately gets to work. But instead of sending FIFA a picture, he goes further and makes a prototype they can hold. It works. FIFA choose his design over 52 others, and perhaps the most beautiful piece of silverware or goldenware enters the beautiful game. Let's let the artist himself describe it. Gazzaniga said the idea was to create something symbolising exertion, dynamism, and the jubilation of an athlete in the moment of victory, with all the joy that contains. The malachite rings in the base fitted the sculpture well because it's green like a football field, and it's also a precious stone. The first captain to lift the trophy was Franz Beckenbauer in 1974, and of course, it's only the greatest who get their hands on it. Zoff, Matthias paved the way for the modern-day heroes who dreamt of lifting Gazzaniga's masterpiece. But there was something about this man holding it that seemed to deliver everything the sculptor had imagined. Were I to ever redo it, the artist once said, I wouldn't change a thing.
going to give you the chance to join Simon and myself on air fairly soon. Off the back of the result last night, Argentina are in Sunday's final, and they will play Spain. England went out as third versus fourth. The bronze medal game for England. Can you believe that? That's what they're calling it. And they will take on the French. In the meantime, so many questions coming out of this, and get ready to call us because in about half an hour or so, we're going to take some of your calls around then, Luke. Yeah, 03717 223344. Let's get an update though on the golf. Royal Birkdale, the Open, well underway, and here's Rupert.
Well, Alex Smalley, who finished runner-up to England's Aaron Rai in the US PGA Championship, is blazing a trail hill on a scorching day because he is at 5 under through 15 holes of his first ever round in the Open Championship. The 29-year-old playing magnificently round these scorched links. In the clubhouse at 4 under par, a pair, Sung Jae Im and England's Dan Brown. Remember 2 years ago, he opened up with a 65 at the Open Championship before a top 10 finish. Well, he's finished with a 66. Elsewhere, Scotty Scheffler cruising along at 3 under par after 13 alongside Bryson DeChambeau. Not so good news for Tommy Fleetwood. He's 1 over par, but it's been a disastrous start for Justin Rose because he is 5 over par after 13 holes of his opening round. Leading the way is Alex Smalley, and you can catch up with all the action over on talkSPORT 2.
The Open Championship update on talkSPORT with Arnold Clark. Buy a used car and get a free 2-year service plan.
Let's head back to Atlanta in the US. England legend Stuart Pearce very kindly hanging on for us early in the morning over there. Stuart joining us live as we get into the afternoon after the night before. And the night before, England went out at the semi-final stage of the World Cup. And it makes sorry reading for England fans because they don't like to hear it. England are the only team this century to have taken the lead in a World Cup semi-final without making the final. And they've now done it twice. Sure, you know where Simon's head is. He thinks Tuchel should go, be sacked. Tournament after tournament. How easy is it, Stuart, to keep blaming the man in the dugout? Where do the players sit in all of this?
Listen, what we're doing, we're coming up against it. We're knocking over the teams we should knock over on the rankings, and we just need to break into that glass ceiling about beating 1 or 2 above us. We're ranked 4th in the world, and that's probably about where we are, to be fair. For me, keep sacking the managers, not always the way forward. Listen, I'm a manager by trade as such, so I'm always going to back the managers. I know how difficult the job is, but we've got a situation here where, it is very, very difficult to go and win these. I look at what we've done since 2012, since St George's Park. I sort of look at the bigger picture. It's almost my job to do so. And we've had two European finals. We've had 2 semi-finals at World Cup level. That was unheard of prior to 2012. I think we're getting closer and closer. Some might disagree. Simon will say, no, we're not. We're a semi-final team at best, and that's where we're at, So, as I say, keep turning managers over. I've seen that process happen prior to probably Gareth coming through the door. Since Gareth, we've had a couple of managers. And we've still got to the latter stages of these tournaments. Yeah,
Stuart commands a lot of respect, Simon. Obviously, he does.
And
do you think England are getting closer and closer to winning something like this?
Well, certainly when you look at the period of time since the World Cup and you look at the 70s when we didn't qualify for the 74 or the 78 World Cups, and then you look at the period of time under Graham Taylor where we didn't qualify for there, and you look at what Gareth did. And I have been giving lots of credit to Gareth Southgate recently about the platform that he built for Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel didn't inherit what Gareth Southgate inherited. Gareth Southgate inherited post-Iceland, post-Sam Allardyce, and a disarray of an England side that he built up to an opportunity that he never took. But my big question for Stuart, again, is about Tuchel and this idea of not being prepared for a tournament. Tuchel was very, very informed about why England didn't do very well in the Euro 2024s. He gave this big speech to ITV about how he felt that the England team lacked clarity, lacked rhythm, lacked an identity, but also was more interested in navigating the way through games rather than winning them. Well, wasn't that just the exact example of what he did?
Well, Stuart, let me jump in, because before you answer that, let's remind ourselves of what Tuchel actually said a year ago off the back of the Euros defeat And his thought on that and what he felt was missing. He was speaking to ITV.
Yes or no, did England have a clear playing style last summer?
Not last summer, no.
What was missing?
The identity, the clarity, the rhythm, the repetition of patterns, the freedom of player, the expression of player, the hunger. They were more afraid to drop out of the tournament, in my observation, than having the excitement and hunger to win it.
What is the missing piece then?
Excitement.
How do you mean?
Excitement. That people feel that's the team to beat. That they feel that's the team to beat. That we arrive with a group to beat. That we know already when we arrive, once we qualified, once we arrive, that everyone knows this is the team to beat.
Stuart in Atlanta, I know you heard that. To Simon's point, there's a hint of irony about this, isn't there, when you hear that?
Yeah, but I mean, I can't deny the fact that it's been a sort of stop-start rhythm scenario from the team. I think the most frustrated person in all of this scenario will be Thomas Tuchel, because I can see the frustration he has that probably what he sees on the training pitch, he's not seen replicated consistently on a match day. Now, you might turn around and say, well, that's his job to make sure it's replicated on a match day. I would also say that Argentina, aside from Messi getting them out of trouble on many occasions on this journey to get to the final, have lacked a bit of rhythm in their own play as well, to be honest with you. You know, I was at the Cape Verde game, they're awful, you know, and then Messi turns a switch and all of a sudden the game's won. He's done the same against England, basically.
But the problem is,
that
Stuart,
one
you don't need me to tell
just
you,
turns games.
They're in the final and England aren't.
Exactly. Well, I can't deny that. Listen, I'm not Thomas Tuchel's agent. It's not my job. But I turn round and say, where do we go if Thomas Tuchel is sacked today? Where do we go with the next manager? Are we just bringing another manager through the door that has not been involved in a tournament, or do we go and get another one with a CV that probably is comparable to Thomas Tuchel?
But you're going to say, I'm going to say to you, Scaloni didn't have a CV when he won the World Cup in 2022, and you're going to tell me it's Messi that did it and the manager made no difference. I mean, surely, Stu, when we look at it, and you look at, was that good enough yesterday? What has tournaments got to do with the decisions that Tuchel made in that second half, Stu?
Yeah, I think the decisions that were made, the substitute decisions that were made, were the wrong ones. It just brought Argentina onto us, and they didn't need any encouragement at that stage. They were on top of us, running over us.
So what's I mean, Stu? I'm not childish, and I'm not. I know I fired lots of managers when I was an owner, but I'm not sitting there trying to create a headline. I'm looking at it and saying, look at the manager, look at what the decisions that he made, look at the outcomes that he tried to create for us. In this tournament, we didn't play well again. Besides a 20-minute period against the Croatians, we had key decisions in the major game, the one game on paper that we didn't have a right to win. We didn't win again, so the same malaise as Southgate. We've got a manager that doesn't. I think the players, and you'll never hear me say this very often, I think the players are owed an apology by the manager by the decisions that he made, because I think he let the players down. I think some of the things that he has said, I applauded, and I look back at them, I think, well, that's wonderful that you said them, but I'm not sure what actually you created by doing it.
My God, I've never heard you say that before.
I look at this and say, Stu, what is it about, besides the orthodoxy of, well, he'll be a better manager tomorrow than he was today, which I've seen no evidence in the press conferences that he acknowledges the mistakes that he's made. Why does he merit, simply because of an orthodoxy, another go at something he clearly doesn't believe in, because he just replicated the same decisions that Gareth made, which is, we didn't change the direction of travel. In fact, Thomas did it worse than Gareth. Gareth didn't change it. Thomas made it worse.
Listen, I find that difficult to defend. I respect your opinion, you know I do. But the bottom line is, I don't see a way forward. The day after a knockout of a major tournament is an absolute killer. We're flat as a pancake here, mate, I can assure you.
I bet you are.
And the bottom line is, it is the absolute worst day to make any form of decision in regard to footballing terminology, that type of thing. You've got to let it settle, you've got to let the dust settle, and you've got to say to yourself, well, who is there out there will come and take this job?
Well, let me repackage it, Stu. Let me repackage it, Stu, then. it shouldn't be a given that he keeps his job, and it shouldn't be an immediate statement from Mark Bullingham that we move on and there's nothing to see here. Everyone's disappointed and that Thomas Tuchel stays in place. Is it not worth an evaluative perspective about the coaching staff that he's chosen, which are inexperienced, that have no real winning credentials in their criterias, through to the decisions that he's made, through to the FA's overlooking the process and saying why we put him there in the first place? Is that not worth a pause to think and say, right, it's not a given that he stays. We consider this in the rounds.
That process should be a given anyway. After every major tournament, I think you should be looking and dissecting the manager's performance, the staff's performance.
They've already said he stays.
I know they have, but there's still a process. There's still a process can be done, even if you make the statement. They've made that statement already. He stays in post, but there still should be a process where we pull apart everything that went on in this tournament to turn around and say, why consistently did this team not deliver to the sum of the parts, Stuart, in probably a lot of people's opinion? Your opinion, my opinion.
I know out in Atlanta you are feeling down, mate, and I'm not surprised, having done what you did in the past for England, and I know what England means to you and playing for the badge. I put it to Simon and I'll put it to you. It's a cold, hard reality, Stuart. England, forever the bridesmaid. 60 years on, are they the greatest nearly men on the international stage?
Well, what I would say is we've closed that nearly man gap, and that gap is, in my opinion, aside from yesterday, we're getting closer on that. You know, because I've seen over the last 10 or 15 years the team getting to finals, getting to semi-finals. That was unheard of for the best part of 40 years. Incredible. So, for me, we are closing the gap, but we've got to keep learning from our mistakes, admittedly, and then keep generating. Some of our young players are the envy of the world in many ways, you know. But at this moment in time, we got talent, we got Kane, we got Bellingham, we got talented players within our ranks, but we haven't got someone who can win a World Cup on their own. Right. In Messi, Maradona, Zidane, and the like.
So, Stuart, are you any more or any less confident that Thomas Tuchel will lead England to winning the Euros in 2028?
I'm optimistically open-minded, it's fair to say, and supportive. Hopefully that my country will get their hands on silverware.
We feel your pain, Stuart, and thank you for hitting with some hard ones today, and we thank you for being with us.
It's a pleasure talking to you. Have a good day, chaps.
Stuart Pearce, you can hear it in him, can't you? Yeah, what it means to him. Back with Simon and myself in a second. We're live in talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation.
We have a 4-2-4 system. Players like Olmo, if you look at him, he's always between two lines. Yep. This player, you saw it in the game with Belgium. You saw it in the game with Portugal. He is exactly the kind of, I would say, a virus who is entering in the blood of the opponents. And he killed us. He was one of the players perfectly suited to kill us.
Yeah. Can I just ask your thoughts on Mbappe last night as well? I mean, did he let himself down, Eric? I know he's a big player, he's a big personality, but even walking off last night, not shaking anybody's hands, I mean, how does that look?
It looks like the real Mbappe is back. There is two Mbappe, the one who is having a mission and the one who can be positive and working and sharing and being the leader of a team. And when he loses his gift, his toy, when the toy is broken, suddenly the teenager who is part of him comes back. The one who is selfish, the one who is a bit aggressive when he gets a yellow card with the goalkeeper, the one who doesn't share hands with opponent, the one who suddenly in the last 20 minutes he knew the game was lost and he played for himself. He made some useless kicks, shots. Sorry. So altogether, we are back with the Mbappé from Paris Saint-Germain, the Mbappé sometimes of Real Madrid, the Mbappé that we know that I spoke about it from the very early stage of the tournament, who is selfish. And when he's selfish like that, then you lose the man on the mission. The mission was lost, Mbappé was back.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
The Playbook with talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or visit talksportbet.com for all the latest odds and offers. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
It's time to catch up with Ryan, talkSPORT Bet's ambassador, Ryan Douglas, and we'll talk about what may or may not come next following England's defeat last night at the hands of Argentina. Incidentally, so many of you getting in touch with me today saying, when do we get our opportunity to join you and Simon on air? Very shortly is the answer to that. And we'll try and get as many of you on today as we can, because it's quite unprecedented today, the numbers of you trying to join us on air. 03717 223344. Ryan, you are on air. You're with us. Where do we start? Thomas Tuchel, and potentially who might be next if he was to go.
Yeah, well, it is what everybody's talking about on the back of that game. I myself, I'm flat, and I do feel like everybody's responsible, but we're under the consensus, the general consensus. It was Thomas Tuchel, aren't we? And whether you feel like it will be split into two camps, whether you feel like you should let it run, or whether you feel like he should step down, because obviously the FA decided to keep him on. talkSPORT Bet have the market for the next potential manager, and it's in front of me here. Pep Guardiola is the favourite, should Tuchel step down, to be the England manager. He's on at 11-4. Second in the betting is Eddie Howe. Then it goes Lee Carsley at 6-1, Pochettino at 8-1, and Graham Potter at 12-1. So it goes way too wide there. Pep Guardiola 11-4 right now, Simon, to be the favourite. Should Tuchel step down because the FA have decided to keep him? What do you think about that?
Well, I think he's a wonderful manager. I doubt he would take the England manager's job. I think he's if you look at Pep and his attitude towards Catalonia and the Catalonian mentality about how they own Spain and how pious he is about that, I don't see him managing Spain, and I don't see him managing England. But I think that the argument for Guardiola in this sort of hypothetical world that we're operating in would be very compelling.
Yeah,
very compelling. I'm just disappointed in Thomas Tuchel, not just because I wanted to be right, because I wanted him to prove the point that I was trying to make over the last 7 years, which wasn't a dissection or evisceration of Gareth Southgate. It was a calling out opportunities being missed. Gareth Southgate did lots of wonderful things, but Thomas Tuchel in this tournament, as a result of that game yesterday, and you were judged in the moments that count, not in the moments that don't count, the moments that count. And in that moment, he came up massively short.
Yeah,
he doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe in what he said. in terms of the preparation to this tournament, and he doesn't believe in his players. Obviously,
let's put it another way. I mean, I was about to say, if you were Mark Bullingham, you're not. You're very definitely not. Say you were, would you approach Pep? Would you sound him out?
Well, of course you would. Why wouldn't you? Because if the best manager in the world at this moment in time in domestic football is available, not working for anybody else, you'd be bloody foolish if you've got one of the biggest jobs, highest paid jobs available in international football, and Pep Guardiola is sitting around scratching his backside, and you think you can get him, you'd put the call in.
Yeah.
And you'd have the conversation, you'd see if you can get somewhere.
You would.
Well, why wouldn't you?
You would. Well, Bullingham won, because Bullingham on LinkedIn says it hurts, 2 words, and then he goes into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs. In the final paragraph, Thomas and the coaches will raise everyone for that and will lead us into qualification for the home Euros in 2028. So nothing's going to change. If you were him, you would be on the blower to Pep.
I would find it very difficult to move past the fact that that all of my confidence in Thomas Tuchel has not been repaid, and I'm not going to keep on allowing this orthodoxy. It's different for tournament football. You've got a group of players that are elite footballers. You were able to manage them through certain games, and when it came onto the big occasion, your tactical decisions made the situation worse. That's got nothing to do with preparing for a tournament or the Goldfish Bowl mentality of playing X amount of games on a world stage. It's got nothing to do with that. That was just bad decision making. It was tactical negligence, and he should be held accountable for it. And the first thing he should be doing is acknowledging it.
Right, but Billingham's not going to sack him because he's just lengthened his contract.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that can be dealt with because the FA has been profligate in the past, so why can't it be profligate in the present? You know, it spent hundreds of millions more than it should have done building a bleeding stadium.
Right.
So I'm sure it can find its way.
So in the first part of the show today, Simon, you said no, they should sack Tuchel. And now you're saying they should go for Pep.
I think there's a very strong possibility that the conversation should be had as not a given determination, which is everything's rosy in the garden. We did okay. Yeah. Let's move on. And there's nothing to see here. There is something to see here. And we should be looking at it properly rather than just going to the default position is Tuchel stays. Maybe people don't want to hear the reactionary perspective of he gets fired because it almost sounds like this low-level fan sort of response to things. Fire someone you don't like something. But I look at that yesterday and I think that was an appalling set of decisions by Thomas Tuchel.
Does anybody want to watch the bronze match, England-France? What are you thinking?
That is the question, isn't it? Yeah, there is a third-place game at 10 o'clock as well on the Saturday. The salt in the wounds here, guys, is that France are odds-on favourites to beat England in that game. England are actually 13-5. It's the first time in the tournament they've been the underdogs. Have to remind everybody that England were the favourites to beat Argentina yesterday, according to the betting. They were odds-on for Norway, and it went to extra time. But France are odds-on favourites for that game. The question is, Simon, do you care?
Not particularly. I mean, I hear you going back to Argentina, and they were odds-on favourites, and there's no shame in getting beaten by Argentina.
No.
There is shame in the way we got beat.
Yes.
There is a difference.
Okay.
And as far as this game's concerned, give the kids a run, give Ivan Toney a run. They've been sat in camp for 6 weeks. Let everybody that hasn't played play.
I go. And in the final itself, Ryan?
Yeah, the final itself, it's going to be a generational hate watch, isn't it, for the England fans? Because both sides have hurt us in recent history. I don't know if I had to pick which side. I probably want Spain to do it, but this is I'm just going to enjoy it as a neutral, Jim. To say Spain are the favourites, though, they are the favourites for the final. Argentina, once again, are the outsiders. They're on at 12-5, and we can hope for neutrals as penalties. That's 9-1 for either side to win it. So I don't know, Simon, who you've got in that.
No, with no sort of extra zest. Argentina are not winning this game. Spain are not England, and Spain are not Cape Verde, and they're not Egypt. Right? They are a far better side. They will put the Argentinians to the sword, Messi or no Messi. They will control the game in the same way that they were able to control the Mbappes of the world and the French team that was littered with superstars in it as well.
You're going to hate that. You're surrounded by your Spanish chums.
I know. I mean, ultimately, that's just like how to say which disease do I want least? The Argentinians to win or the Spanish to win.
Ryan, well done, mate.
Cheers, guys.
And again, always good to see you. That was Ryan Douglas, talkSPORT Bet Ambassador. And thanks to talkSPORT Bet once again. 18+, gambleaware.org.
The Playbook with talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or visit talksportbet.com to see all our latest sign-up offers. 18+, gambleaware.org.
we've seen some amazing players play for England in my lifetime. But I feel that what Bellingham is doing, even if you compare it to Kane, and Kane is an icon. Kane is one of England's greats as well. But Bellingham feels different.
Do you think?
Yeah.
You think he's the greatest player to ever play for England?
Can we frame this question in a slightly different way?
Go on.
Can we just discount the 66 winners? Like,
Okay.
I can't.
You can't
they won it,
go against Bobby Moore.
Yeah, they've won it. They've won it.
Okay,
Like,
but is he the best player you've seen in an England shirt ever?
He's not. He's probably not the best player, but he might be the best England player, the best player for England. Like, look, you could argue that Steven Gerrard was a better player than him. You could argue that Paul Scholes was. You could argue that lots of players were, but none of them did it for England in the way that Bellingham has already. Already, 22 years old. Already, think about what happened in Qatar. Think about what happened in Germany, and this World Cup, he's taken it to a completely different level.
Yeah,
like I think it's amazing. I don't
Rooney?
know Rooney never did it for England quite like Rooney. I was there. Rooney scored 1 goal at a World Cup for England.
Yeah,
like Jamie Carragher wrote a piece in yesterday's Telegraph, and he was talking about Gaza. He was kind of making the comparisons with Gaza. Gaza captured a nation, and all that.
Yeah,
and he obviously did. And you think of his performances in Italia '90 and then Euro '96. But I didn't know this until I read Carragher's article. Gaza didn't score at Italia '90. He didn't score. Bellingham's got 6 in 6. It's different. I don't see how you can say that he's not better than what Gerrard did for England. Gerrard had his moments, remarkable footballer. But Rooney's contribution, Gerrard's contribution, Lampard's contribution, it just can't be.
Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Toby Gillis. Thomas Tuchel, the elite coach brought in to bring the mentality, positivity and tactics that Gareth Southgate could not, still has the backing of the FA, despite many pundits suggesting he's done no different. He will remain in charge until at least the Euros. Simon Jordan was confident the German was the right guy, but is baffled by last night's transformation, calling his defensive decisions negligent.
So Thomas Tuchel sitting in a press conference afterwards, drinking his own Kool-Aid about the fact that the team didn't respond. You, my old son, were responsible for that performance and for that outcome.
So Simon wants Tuchel to go. Former England captain Stuart Pearce doesn't see the logic in that.
Tournaments are quite unique, and it probably takes you a tournament to understand the runnings of them and whatever. No matter how much club football you've got, going to a tournament is slightly different. And for me, it would be like throwing the baby out with the bathwater at this stage.
So that's the on-pitch stuff dealt with, but politics has very much entered the sporting arena once again. Downing Street has released a statement asking FIFA to look into whether Argentina's players broke their rules when they unveiled a banner saying Las Malvinas son Argentinas. The Falklands are Argentine. Remember 2 years ago, Rodri and Alvaro Morata were handed 1-game bans after chanting Gibraltar is Spanish after beating England in the Euros final. The likes of Bryson DeChambeau and Scotty Scheffler are in the closing stages of their Open Golf first rounds live over on talkSPORT 2. Both are in with a shout of taking the clubhouse lead, currently held at 4 under by England's Daniel Brown and Korea's Sungjae Im. And to Cardiff, where England are up against India in the second ODI. England bowling. Here's talkSPORT's cricket editor, John Norman.
Yeah, another good contest this. 82 for 1 India with two of their old campaigners. Virat Kohli, 23, and Rohit Sharma, 22 at the crease. So 1 wicket to fall, that is Shubman Gill. Brilliantly caught by Duckett in the covers from the bowling of Gus Atkinson. Atkinson, one of 2 changes for England, with Mahmood also in the side, dropped Sharma when on 5. Made things worse, the ball went off for a 4. 14 overs in, India asked to bat first, 83 for 1.
talkSPORT News.
2 men have been jailed for the TfL hack in 2024, and more than 1,000 migrants have been returned to France since August. Tom has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. The season's changing, so get your car's shim pads and studs checked for summer with a free vehicle safety check. Book in centre or at quickfit.com today.
Small chance of a thunderstorm in the far southwest, hot and dry elsewhere, dry and clear tonight and very warm overnight in the south.
Hello,
Good afternoon, everybody. Thursday, July the 16th. It's 5 minutes past 2 this Thursday afternoon, and it's another beautiful afternoon in this part of the world, down in the southeast. What a hot spell of weather we're having throughout the country. But there's no doubt about it. There is an air of dejection amongst England fans today, of course, and it's huge because their World Cup dreams are over yet again. Argentina sent England home last night, and it's over. They've got a bronze match to play England. Tuchel's England going against France. But what does that mean? It was a big one last night, and England came up short. And Tuchel under enormous pressure today for the tactics that he chose and the substitutions that he made. Post-match, and it was fairly quickly after full time, nonetheless, he was asked, Thomas Tuchel, did you get it wrong?
No, I believe that's just the nature of the game. As soon as you lose, you get criticized. It's just what it is, and you get criticized after. No one knows what would have happened if we made different decisions. So it makes no sense to engage in that and lose my head. I'm responsible for them. I took them, so I take the criticism. That's just the way it is.
Simon, I know you said at the top of the show, and I have no reason to doubt that you've changed your mind, that you haven't changed your mind, that you think he should go, that you think the FA
I think that wasn't good enough.
him.
I think that wasn't good enough.
Right, you still think he should be sacked?
I think there should be a serious consideration about whether that was good enough and whether going forward it's going to get better. And given the basis of these post-match interviews, and given the basis of how he sees their game, now obviously he's media-facing, so he may have a different view privately, and the media-facing perspective might be slightly different. But everything I anticipated that Thomas Tuchel would achieve in this tournament, he had yet to achieve. And I kept on drinking the Kool-Aid and retaining the faith and believing in the outcomes and believing that when it came on top against a side that we weren't on paper supposed to beat, that there would be something different. There was something different. It was worse. It was worse than what Southgate did. And that's not because I think that Southgate is a better manager than Thomas Tuchel, because I don't think he's a better manager than Thomas Tuchel. I think he did lots of good things, and I've never said he didn't. What I did say was that when the opportunity was presented to him, he didn't take them. And in the same situation, we had a moment in this game where the game was within our grasp. We go 1-0 up. What was that? The worst thing we could have done? Was that the worst thing we could do was go and score a goal against the Argentinians, because it changed the mentality of our players, and then it changed the mentality of our coach. And the seeded belief that he told us that A, this team has the capability of overcoming most things, and B, that he identified the England's performances in the last Euros as not being brave, more to the point, not having any identity, not having any rhythm or culture behind them, and also more interested in staying in the tournament. So what the hell was that then?
There are many out there who doubt whether he now has the right to lead England into the Euros 2028. There are many, I think, also who'd say to you, well, hang on a minute, because what happened last night, should he lose the right to take England into the Euros 2020?
The reasons why he's got the right now is because they give him a new contract. So why did they need to give him a new contract before the tournament? Why would we, at the end of this tournament, we should be judging him because he's a tournament manager. He's not a domestic manager. He's managed based upon tournaments, and they come around once every 2 years. So his job is to be successful in this tournament. Is it defined as success? Is this tournament defined as success? If it's defined as success by the FA, then by all means keep him in the job. If it's not defined as success, and what was successful about it? We were abject against the Ghanaians. We were poor against the Panamanians. We weren't much better against the Norwegians. We got
to the semi-final. Is that a failure?
Yes, but by beating the same old set of teams that we are capable of beating year in and year out. And we can go back 30 years and say we didn't do it then. Well, oh wow, we set ourselves a low standard many years ago, and we've managed to achieve it again.
I mean, Simon, maybe England aren't capable of beating better opposition.
But maybe you give yourself a chance to go out in a certain way. He says in that interview, and he's quite right to say it, which is no one knows what the outcome will be. Well, of course we don't, because the decision that you made, we know the outcome from. It got worse. So by definition, it doesn't avoid the criticism. Why weren't we braver? What you put Madueke in the bleeding team for the entire tournament? Why haven't we got legs when we need it? Why is it? How are we going to get out of the problems that we were having from Argentina, which it was endlessly? They could have had 5 in the end. And what was the solution? To just sit there and put on central defenders. We're playing Dan Burn as a centre forward.
Now do you realise, though, why people who are not England fans are incensed by its coming home? Maybe you're not as good as you think you are.
No, but we're good enough, with respect.
This story is very predictable.
We're good enough to beat that Argentinian side. And you have to ask yourself why we didn't do it.
But clearly not,
And one of
Simon.
the component parts, because the decisions we made in the game. Because the team were not supported by the management decisions. And we knew Everybody knew that there was going to come a moment where the game needed to be affected by what we perceived to be an elite coach, someone that's done domestically brilliant things, which Thomas Tuchel has done. So when it came, where was Thomas Tuchel? Oh, he was at home washing his tights. He was making decisions that were not advancing the tide, not believing in the side, not supporting his players, not achieving an outcome, exacerbating the problem. And you have to have accountability in the real world. And football is still the real world. It might be Narnia when it comes to finances. It might be a dreamland when it comes to what players can and can't do in their private lives. But it is still the real world where some people have to be held accountable for bad decisions.
At 1-0 and the clock's ticking, and Argentina are thinking of revving up their engines.
Be brave.
If it was Pep and not Tuchel, you'd think,
be brave.
We're going to get through this.
Be brave. Make brave decisions, not cowardly ones.
Are you in that camp? If it was Pep and not Tuchel...
If it was my aunt and not my uncle, brave decisions. This was not... Was that brave? What we did yesterday, was that brave? I can live with being beat by Argentina. There's no shame in it. But not in that manner. Not with that. That was a capitulation. That was a waving of the white flag. And that led, the charge for that was led by the manager. Rather than say, glad 17 minutes we've allowed this team to pour onto us. They're going to score soon. I need to change the direction of travel. What he decided to do was make it worse. Take Declan Rice off so that Messi gets a much freer role. Take off Anthony Gordon so we've now got no legs and don't replace him with legs. Take Anthony Gordon off by all means. Replace him with some legs.
Yeah.
How are we going to get the ball up the field to relieve the pressure, to create some degree of concern in the Argentinians? The Argentinians were in their element. They probably couldn't believe how easy it was becoming. And it was a matter of time that they were going to score.
What I can't get my head around is that the stats show we shouldn't really have expected any other outcome. England have been eliminated every time they faced a top 10 ranked nation in the knockout stages of the World Cup since 1998.
And that's fine, right? But in this circumstances, we've gotten to finals. We've built up momentum. Prior to 98, where had we been? We'd been in one semi-final in 1990, right? We hadn't qualified for the 94 World Cup. Glenn came in and did a decent job in 98, but we didn't punch much harder than we normally do in tournaments. Prior to that, what did we do? What did we do in the tournaments? In 86, we did okay with the hand of God and with Maradona and so on and so forth. In 82, we flattered to deceive. In 78, we didn't qualify. In 74, we didn't qualify. In 1970, we didn't defend it particularly well. So what is it we're talking about? But in this set of parameters, we've gone European Championship final, European Championship final, World Cup quarterfinals, World Cup semi-finals. And guess what? We've had all the draws to help us get there. And of the 4 teams in the World Cup semi-final, the 3 teams that we could want, Argentina are the ones that we can beat. They're beatable. They are beatable by us. That team was beatable by us. We made them look not
top 10
not just. And so
clearly they're not at the moment.
And we're seeded 4th.
Historically, you don't beat them.
And so then that was
28 years.
Fantastic. And that's
you're knocked out every time you face a top 10 ranked nation.
That's what Tuchel was supposed to do. That was the moment, because Gareth had an opportunity against Croatia and had an opportunity against the Italians in the European Championship. Right?
Simon, different manager, different players, same old outcome. 28 years of it.
But for different reasons. Southgate didn't make decisions.
You never beat anyone good.
When and excuse the words, but understand the meaning, we had the same situation on that field, which was a tired, ageing Harry Kane that's got no pace. So Harry Kane needed to be hooked off in that game. Let's not blaming Harry. It's the same as the European Championship final. Same against the Croatians. We needed to change. And I'm not making Harry the centre of it, but you've got Harry Kane as our sole striker yesterday, and the outcomes are not going to be what you need when you've got a team pouring onto you. You need legs.
Listen, you're brilliant with your responses. I listen to you every day, so I'm going to put this to you. England eliminated every time they faced a top 10 ranked nation since 1998. How do you explain that?
I think I think there's an element of we are not as good as we'd like to think we are. I think there's an element of our overriding mentality, which isn't just about the indomitable spirit. There's an inherent belief. I mean, if you win things, these players are winning things at domestic level, so you'd like to think they've got this ability to win things. The Argentinians came from a position yesterday of A, seeing what England were doing, but B, having some winning mentality in the fact that they had a team that's won something previously.
Yeah.
So I look at it and say, in this part, did I expect England, in all honesty, in the deepest corners of my mind at 5 o'clock in the morning when you look in the mirror and you know the truth, to overcome the Spanish in the final? Probably not. But I knew they could beat the Argentinians, and I knew that it was going to come a moment in that game where there was something that was going to change, something that was going to needed to be changed, either the first team selection that was put out there or something during the course of the game. And when it came on top, And when we needed our manager to make an inspired decision for those lads that have done relatively well in terms of being indomitable in their spirit, but not particularly cohesive as a team, he let them down.
Okay.
He let them down.
We're going to take your calls, and my God, how we get through this is anybody's guess. 03717 223344. England, forever the bridesmaid? It seems that way. Give us a call. You tell me different. 03717 223344.
He seems to be into the fact that it was kind of a premeditated idea by Gabriel Clark to ask a question in a divisive way. You know him, you've done this job, so what did you make of the interview and what do you make of all the fallout from it?
Well, straight after the interviews, I sent Gabriel a text and I said, a masterclass in the art of post-match interviewing. And I would stand by that now. Gabriel's not a sensationalist. He's not out for headlines. He will look you in the eye and ask a straight question. Having been in that situation, I think he might have been slightly surprised when Tuchel came and said we were poor and we didn't do this and we didn't do that. That might have surprised him slightly, and he threw the mentality line in that Tuchel bit his head off about. But those situations, you've got a limited amount of time. There's no way that you're going to go, I'm going to ask him this and wind him up here, and then I'll get Bellingham. And by the way, what a story that's going to be. That's not Gabriel. Gabriel's the best in the business at doing that by a considerable margin and has been for many years. And when Gabriel put it to him, your manager wasn't very happy overall, and he shrugged his shoulders and said, whatever. Fine.
Do you think Gabriel could have qualified it a bit more? Maybe in hindsight, he thinks if he'd said the manager wasn't happy with performance, not in terms of effort, maybe in terms of quality, you can play better than that as a team.
I think you and everyone that's ever asked a question would look back and go, perhaps I could have asked that question a bit better. But in the heat of the moment there, in those bowels, when the adrenaline is still running, it was a straightforward, it was honest bit of interviewing. It wasn't tricky. And I was thinking about it coming in here. There's been nothing from the England camp.
No drama, is there?
There's been nothing. There's been no fights. There's been no drunks. There's been no women. There's been nothing untoward. And I think a lot of people jumped on this. Here's a bit of division here, Bellingham and Tuchel, etc., etc. There's a bit of history there, and I think it has been blown up out of all.
Hello, I'm Matt Fordham from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Good afternoon, everybody. 2:20. It is Thursday, July the 16th. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. And we are live on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes, first stop, Toolstation. Just before we go to the calls, Simon, and there are many, when you and I were in New York, did it go through your mind now and again? Yeah, they're going to do it here. Over here, in the land of the free, England are going to win this thing. Did it constantly go through your mind? Yeah, they won't be far away.
I thought they'd get to the final.
Right.
I thought they'd get to the final. I thought it would be very, very challenging.
Right.
And that the component, the faith that I had, I almost feel like a scolded ex-wife, don't I? In terms of the disappointment I seem to be exhibiting towards Thomas Tuchel. I expected much more from him. And when you get new information, you do have to pivot off the basis that you have, which is maybe there's a reason why you kept on getting binned off in domestic jobs. Maybe there's a reason why Bayern Munich got rid of you. Maybe there's a reason why PSG got rid of you.
Yeah.
Maybe I know there's a reason why Chelsea got rid of him. But the fact of the matter is that he's disappointed me, and I think he's let the team down with the decisions he made yesterday. And it'll be fascinating to see when the dust settles what he has to say about the decisions that he made, because it went completely in the face of the start point that he had, which is England needed to be braver in winning games.
Post-match last night, incidentally, if he'd said, look, I messed up tonight, would your attitude be different today?
It makes a case for Stuart Pearce's point, which is he's a better manager today than he was yesterday.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't think that anything was wrong in the decisions that he's made, how can he possibly be a better manager?
Right. Every time we ask for calls, no matter the topic on this show, your response out there is immense. It's fantastic. Today, it's off the scale. So we're going to stick with this, and we're going to try and bring as many of you to air as we can. So, new manager, same old England, it seems. Did we just witness a sorry tactical surrender, which has cost England hugely and cost you, the followers of England, hugely? 03717 223344. Steve, first up, Manchester United, an England fan. Steve, where are you with all of this?
I am currently in Manchester Airport, ready to fly to New York in a couple of hours.
Wow. Because you're going to the final?
I am, and obviously I gambled a few weeks ahead of time when I booked it. But to be honest, we create content. Just quick shout out to the Let's Kick It Off podcast. I'm out there anyway recording content, but obviously I was absolutely gutted about last night. But I just want to, come on and speak about Tuchel, because I think it's gone well over the top.
So in what way? So where are you at with him?
I think we had Southgate for, 8 years? And, Southgate took us from an absolute laughing stock of a nation. Iceland, we don't need to mention it. He got us punching. He got us in the mix. He got us to 2 Euro finals. He got us to a World Cup semi-final. He got us to a World Cup quarter-final where we got knocked out against France. So this is not like, we're, kind of just getting unlucky. We are mixing it with the biggest in the international stage. And in this tournament, we've got to the semi-final. We've had a tough run in terms of Mexico in the Azteca. Tommy Tuchel has pulled off that magnificent win that we'll remember for the rest of our lifetime, even though we didn't win the tournament. What an occasion, brought the country together. So let's just take a moment and not rush the decisions. Simon, you said it yourself. Why don't we just take a moment to sit back and realise what we've done in this tournament? We're not, outright the best team in the world. So it's not a given that we should get to the final or win it. So let's just take a moment and, respect Tommy Tuchel, because, it's not like we've gone out as an embarrassment that we've all seen in the past.
Oh, I think that was an embarrassment yesterday. I don't have any problems getting beaten by Argentina, but it's the manner in which we got beat yesterday, and the manner and the decisions that Thomas Tuchel made. And I don't disagree with the premise of stepping back from a reactionary observation that I made, that I think there's a distinct possibility that he could find himself getting fired, or should be getting fired. And perhaps if I was the chair of the FA, which no one would want, but if I was, I'd be considering that. But it shouldn't be a given, because he was brought in.
I agree with you. It shouldn't be a given.
But it is a given. They've made it a given. They've already determined. Mark Bullingham's come out and said, as a matter of course now, bang, he goes, Thomas Tuchel leads us into the Euros.
Well, that's partly because of the backlash from the likes of yourself, social media. I mean, the reaction last night, I was absolutely shocked by it. Yes, he might have got the subs wrong, but this is high stakes. This is high stakes sport, and you can make one decision, and the outcome may not go your way.
Those decisions, there's cowardice. You're making a decision to try and stop a team from winning a game.
Simon, why were we in that position? 60 minutes, 70 minutes in, we're 1-0 up against the world champions. Need I remind you, they've got the greatest player to ever play the game in their football team. This is not a joke team.
Nobody said that. Nobody said that. But to accept the outcome of the game by making it worse, ultimately you've watched a team drop for 17 minutes and create its own set of problems. You take off offensive players that give you an output ball. When you put defensive players on, you take Declan Rice off, you allow Messi to have more freedom, and you know what he's going to do with it, and you take the legs out of the team. What do you expect to happen? Every football operator that I've spoken to expected the same outcome. So Thomas Tuchel must have expected the same outcome.
So you still have faith in Tuchel, do you, Steve?
Absolutely. We've got the Euros in our home country in 2 years.
Will you ever go over the line, though, mate?
We'll see. Let's give him a chance. He's had one tournament. He's got us to a World Cup semi-final. He's equalled the best England position in the last 60 years.
But Steve, do you not concede that he was brought in for you to win it, to win the World Cup?
Yeah, but he's had one crack at the World Cup.
And he failed.
The Euros. Yes, he did. But we've had Southgate, who came through the FA. We've now had one of the best managers in the world. You can't just, flip-flop. Who are you going to next, Simon? Give me a name. If you want
Steve, there's your flight, mate. You better jump in it. Enjoy the final. Thanks very much. Sam's a big Arsenal fan and an England fan. Sam, where are you at with this? I mean, what did you witness last night?
Hi guys, great show.
Thank you, mate.
I think as much as Tuchel isn't, I weren't overly ecstatic about him in the job, but I think last night, I think Kane is getting a lot of, he's getting away with a lot of stuff. He did it in previous tournaments. I feel, Victor Gyökeres did a great job for us this season. I'm a big fan of, you can set the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Tuchel, seeing the way the game was going, the lads after they scored, it was a mindset issue. I mean, you look at Spain the other night against France. I'd love to get Simon's point of view on this. Porro passes the ball forward to the striker. I think he lets the ball run through and they get a 1-2, and that's the fullback. That's the mindset of the fullback to go forward. I think Tuchel got to a point where, right, lads, we've scored. He got to 70 minutes, it weren't working. He looked at Declan Rice, who was shattered, and he was the best organiser of the midfield. He put Jude back there, and even though Jude's brilliant going forward, he's not as good as Declan covering. And the lads stopped going forward on the wings. And so I think he made a decision there, as much as it's rightly or wrong in hindsight.
So Sam, let's cut to the chase. Do you think Tuchel should carry on?
I think we need to change how we attack teams. I think we need to get a better identity. I don't think that Harry Kane can lead another tournament is my main takeaway from it.
But Harry got you out of jail against the Congo. Without him, you might not have progressed.
I feel like Harry hasn't shown up enough when we needed him. Messi showing up last night. He's a talisman. He wanted the ball. Give me the ball. I'll make something happen. Whereas, Bellingham was the man for us.
All right, Sam, listen, you're entitled to your thought, and thank you for the call. Dylan's a big Newcastle fan, an England fan. Dylan, where are you at with it?
Hi guys, I just want to quickly say it's an absolute pleasure to be on the radio with two legends. I love the show, I've been watching this for years. But what I was so angry last night was angry, and he was talking about it's not a knee-jerk reaction. Thomas Tuchel should definitely lose his job for that last night. That's not a knee-jerk reaction because the reason we aren't in the World Cup final is not because Argentina were better than us. It was literally down to his tactics. We were in the first half where we're going head-to-head with them. It was a feisty game. And then obviously the England player were making 1-0. The players, they automatically, want to drop back, but he's supposed to change that. And for me, he's worse than Southgate. And we ridiculed Southgate. The thing is with Southgate, he got lucky draws. Well, I'm sorry, that first call going on about Mexico, I think the media really overhyped that. I think England should beat Mexico every time we play them. I know it was at the home ground and the altitude, but come on, if you actually look at who Mexico played in this they played nobody, they played minnows. So we should have beat.
Going forward, Dylan, what do you think, mate? I mean, I hesitate to suggest you're a manager, Eddie. Or Pep.
Well, Jim, that was my next point. People say, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? I'd hate it for happening, but if I'm the English FA, I'm sacking Tuchel and I'm getting Eddie Howe, because Eddie Howe doesn't play pragmatic football, and I actually do think, I'm not biased, I do think Eddie Howe is an elite manager. When he won the League Cup, who were beat on the way to the League Cup, and how we've done it. And that, for me, he's the perfect, ideal candidate to be an England manager. As much as I hate to say it, because I want him at Newcastle, because I love him.
Yes. Dylan, it's a good call, and it's a pleasure having you on with us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
We're coming up, Simon, to 2:30. The volume of calls is such. We'll carry on with this.
Shall I tell you who I really enjoyed listening to last night? Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
I obviously I listened to the inane ramblings of Joe Hart by comparison, but I thought that Wayne Rooney was on the money, absolutely on the money. And one thought I took away from that, I know it's a really ridiculous hypothetical side, Alex Ferguson, if he was managing this side, he would have put players on that pitch that would have taken the team up the field.
Well, you're right about
Wayne,
Wayne,
Simon. He would have been sat there, banking up, trying to navigate our way.
And amongst other things, Wayne said post-match, if you're on that pitch, you go 1-0 up, and then see the changes the manager is making, you are losing belief. There's only so many times you can get away with it. You start thinking, we're going to sit back. How are we going to get through this? And he was right, wasn't he? Because England couldn't get through it, and they went out. We'll take more of your calls the other side of 2:30. 03717223344. And we're live with you in partnership with Toolstation. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes. First stop, Toolstation.
To go, mate. I'm sorry, Jeff. Like, when we are paying £8 million for a foreign coach to come in and win us our first trophy since 1966, and that's what he does in a semi-final for an Argentinian side that were there for the taking, and to do what he did 10 times worse than anything Southgate's ever done negatively, I'm sorry, he has to go, mate. Simple as that. The FA have to make a decision, and I just didn't like his interview, the arrogance of his interview. No regrets. Yes, you have got regrets, mate. You've got regrets. There was loads of trouble after the game across the country. Everyone was together. And that's on you, Thomas Tuchel. That's on you. The negativity, cowardly tactics. You can't blame the players. I'm hearing people say, Jeff, that, the players on the pitch have got to make decisions. There's some experience. No, you listen to your coach. Your coach tells you to play a certain formation. You listen to him.
Yeah.
He has to go. Simple as that. No foreign coach has ever won the World Cup. Maybe for a reason. We've given it a go now again with a foreign coach, and that's what he's done.
I mean, Alan here has just tested the same sort of thing you were saying. So Tuchel's shortcomings have been exposed. What about the players' shortcomings? Well, look, the players, we've got 6 defenders on. We've got 4 central defenders on at the end for the cross that Messi puts into Laura Martinez. So, yes, I get that. But ultimately, the can has to be carried by the coach, especially with the negativity. And we all, look, everybody said this, but the negative. Anthony Gordon is flying. We scored a brilliant goal. Brilliant goal. You'll have loved, the fact that Kane, Declan Rice, who's soon to come off as well, Morgan Rogers, and a lovely finish to Anthony Gordon. And Gordon's feeling 10 feet tall, so what do? Oh, we'll take him off.
He's considered one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time. But the story of Lev Yashin could have ended early were it not for a phone call and a friendly. In 1963, the Soviet Union's man between the sticks was seriously considering retirement. The World Cup in Chile the year before went badly wrong for him. But as he's about to hang up his gloves, he gets a call from Fernando Riera, the man who managed the Chile team that beat him in the World Cup 12 months before. Riera's managing a rest of the world side in a centenary game for the English Football Association and tells Yashin, I want you. I mean, look at this team. There's Yashin, and there's Eusebio, Di Stefano, Law, and Puskás. England puts out pretty much their main international side, led by Blackpool's Jimmy Armfield, and also featuring Moore, Charlton, Greaves, the men who'd go on to claim glory in '66. Yashin plays the first 45 minutes and, as you can see, he was busy. At half-time, he goes off injured, but he's kept a clean sheet. The match, broadcast back home in the Soviet Union, proves to the people that Yashin is still the best of the best. Returning home a national hero again convinces him that he has one more World Cup in him. And at that tournament in '66, the Soviet Union came fourth, their best ever World Cup finish.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just gone 2:30 on a Thursday afternoon. Thursday, July the 16th. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live in talkSPORT with you with Tool Station. First stop, Tool Station. We'll get back to your calls very shortly. Keep giving us a call in, incidentally, regarding not just the fact that England went out of the World Cup last night, the fact that the manner in which they went out of the World Cup last night. 03717 223344. Let's head to Royal Birkdale. First day of the Open. Here's Rupert.
Well, Alex Smalley, the American, making his Open Championship debut. Well, he was going along very nicely until the 18th hole, where he's just carded a double bogey 6 to finish at 3 under par. And that means the lead is shared by Sung Jae Im and England's Dan Brown after they carded excellent 66s this morning. The conditions are slightly worsening with the breeze freshening as the afternoon goes on, but Scotty Scheffler is going along very nicely. The defending champion, he's at 3 under par with 3 to play. And other players making good starts to their Open Championships include Tyrrell Hatton and Bryson DeChambeau. Not so good for Jordan Spieth, who won here last time they played the Open Championship, because he's 2 over as his round comes to the end. And it's been a disaster for Justin Rose, because he's at 6 over with about 3 holes of his round to play. Rory McIlroy, well, he'll be teeing up in the next half an hour. And if you want to hear how he gets on, then do tune in to talkSPORT 2.
The Open Championship update on talkSPORT with Arnold Clark. Choose from over 20,000 used cars online and score your dream car today.
England fans listening today, watching us live on YouTube, wherever we're these days. You can watch us live on Roku, TV Plus, Samsung, the talkSPORT app, wherever you want to find us. You can find us, even Prime Video. And this is your chance to come to air today with Simon and myself and tell us what you really think. Had you bought into it? Tuchel's dream that England, with him, were going to go all the way and win this World Cup. Had you bought into that? Did you see yourselves in Sunday's final over in the US that, yeah, we'll be there and we're going to win it for the first time in 60 long years? What did you witness last night as you went out to Argentina? Was it nothing more than a tactical surrender? 03717 223344. Keith, big Arsenal fan. Keith, we know you, Keith. What are you at with this one?
How you doing, guys?
Good, mate. Good, thank you. What do you think?
What do I think? You don't want to know what I think. First of all, I disagree with Simon. I always agree with him on many things. Well, and not everything, but to be honest with you, I've always thought that England have this sort of sense of superiority. They're a bit like Spurs. They keep thinking they're going to win everything and end up winning nothing. You know, it's pathetic. I mean, Simon, you were quite critical of Gareth Southgate. He's the best manager England have had since Alf Ramsey. 2 finals and a semi-final. 2 finals and a semi-final. It's pretty damn good. I know he didn't win it.
Just out of curiosity, in your mind's eye, Keith, what was I critical of? What did I criticise Southgate for doing?
I excuse me if I am incorrect, but I always seem to think that I always seem to remember that you were fairly critical of him as a manager. I
was critical of the lack of decision making at times when opportunity was in our hands. I was critical of not changing against Croatia.
Look at his record, Simon.
No, but we can look at the record, but look at the individual moments in time. What I was critical of.
No, forget the individual moments. You don't judge a manager by the individual moments. You judge him by his record.
You do, because ultimately moments affect outcomes.
You don't. You don't. You look at his record, 2 finals and a semi, better than any England manager in history, actually, apart from Alf Ramsey. That's number one. Number 2, okay, look, we have got some good players, but we have this delusional thinking that we can do better than we are. And like I said, Southgate was a very good manager. People complained, as they always do. They always want someone to blame. Have we ever not thought to ourselves, wait a minute, let's lower our expectations. We're probably not as good as we ever think we are, right? Because Southgate, as I said, did a great job. But now we've got a German manager. Now, I don't agree with a foreign coach for a manager. You might as well just open it all up and have a German players playing for the English team. It's a nonsense. Having a German manager, can you imagine if we'd been playing Germany in that semi-final? I find it laughable, because you've got such divided loyalties. We should have stuck with Southgate, not given him such a hard time, or appoint another England manager and stop. We need to stop.
Well, that time's over, though, Keith. That time's over, though, mate. I mean, where are you at now? Do you think Tuchel should go?
I don't believe in having a foreign manager. I think it's a joke. I think if it's a national team,
so you wouldn't want Pep.
People. No, I wouldn't. I want an English manager. I think it's ridiculous. Like I said, you know, if I'm playing for England, I've got to be English. What difference is it? If you're a coach, get an English coach, okay? Because you've got divided loyalty. Like I said, if Germany would have had a good tournament, it to me, it just doesn't make sense.
And is this how you felt before this tournament, Keith?
Always. I've never wanted a foreign coach. It's got to be English for the English national team, period.
Not the best man for the job. Bullingham and the FA still think that Tuchel's the best man for the job.
Well, look, in terms of his credentials as a manager, I think he's a good manager. But do I want him, as a German and not an Englishman, managing the national team? No way. Never have. I never wanted Sven-Göran and Eriksson. I never wanted Fabio Capello. Okay, as good as they are as managers, we need to a national team and a national tournament. It needs to be
the tragedy of your argument, Keith, is I'm not actually flawed. I don't think it's particularly flawed, but the reasons why we have such a brilliant Premier League is not because we have English managers. The reasons why your Arsenal team managed to achieve things of real significance is not because it carried on from George Graham, it's because Arsene Wenger took it in a different direction, a Frenchman, and now you've got a Spaniard running Arsenal. In an ideal world, you'd have English owners owning English football clubs, English players and English managers, but we don't.
Different kettle of fish.
Not really.
We live in a workplace. We live in a work market where you have all nationalities working with you. But you're talking about national competition. Are we going to get to the situation where in the Olympics I get Usain Bolt in his prime racing for England? No.
Well, that's not the same thing. I mean, ultimately, the qualification for playing for England still has to be in English. I understand the ideal utopian perspective, and we've got the perfect footballing nation that once upon a time showed how football should be played, now has an Italian manager.
Keith, it's always good to hear from you, mate. Thank you for coming on. Adam's Halifax Town, an England fan. Adam, what are you thinking? You haven't Tuchel still?
No. I think he's a good manager. Do I think he's elite? No. I think, I'm not being funny, but you know, you hire these managers to get you over in those moments. The moments are there. Last night we're 1-0 up. It's Spain, it's Italy, all over again. You know, there's no difference from what Southgate did to what Tuchel did last night. But at the end of the day, an elite manager smells blood and they go for it and they finish the team off. And he just couldn't do that. He didn't have the cojones to do that.
Is that what Argentina did last night, Adam? Did they smell English blood, went for it and won?
Exactly. I mean, it's how much more of a clear invitation do you need when you bring on all these defensive players? You know, all them subs last night that were subbed on, you know, there were no like-for-like subs. It was all defensive. It was almost saying to Argentina, here you go, come and knock us out of the semi-final.
Yeah. Adam, thank you for the call.
Do you know what? It's
go on, mate. Go on.
One last thing. Last thing. I would have actually preferred it to have gone 1-0 down against Argentina, and that would have forced Tuchel's hand then to actually go attacking to get back into the game. And
maybe that's a good point. Simon, you're nodding to Adam.
Well, I mean, it would appear that the worst thing that we could have done was actually score a goal because it changed the entire mindset of the team and the manager.
You can't win. It's coming home. Not really. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan live in Talk Sport with Tool Station. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes. First up, Tool Station.
I wonder whether he went back, muscle memory, whether he's gone back to what happened against Mexico, where we dealt with 5 at the back and they threw things at... But this ain't Mexico.
There's 20 minutes left.
It's
20 minutes of normal time, Jace.
It's more than that.
And we had a man sent off against Mexico. You could almost accept it.
I know.
You're playing against Argentina. You can't sit off for 25 minutes against Argentina. He absolutely bottled it. Thomas Tuchel's cost us the World Cup. He cost us the World Cup. We're 1-0 up. Played well first half. All right, cagey affair. We go 1-0 up. Be brave. Be brave, Thomas. This is what we brought you in for. We brought you in for this moment.
We got rid of Southgate because he bottled it, because he weren't brave. We brought you in for now to make that decision. We're 1-0 up in a World Cup semi-final. Bring on Rashford. Bring on Saka. And if they score, they score. But at least we're going to go down fighting. At least we're going to go down with some pride. We fell out of the World Cup in disgrace because of him. Because of him. And we brought him in for this job. This is what we brought him in for, to get us over this line. And it's the same old England, same old crap, same old guff that I have to watch every tournament that we're in. And it's the manager's tucked us up again. Tucked us up. We're dead on our feet. Got Morgan Rogers playing right wing, Jude Bellingham on the left. Brings on Nico O'Reilly. We can't get out. Harry Kane's done nothing. He's dead. Nothing. Got nothing left.
I don't.
I can't believe it, Jace.
Well, no.
Jace, I can't believe it.
No,
it's a disgrace.
He
should be sacked. Get him out. Gone.
I totally agree. I can't believe that we've moved on from Southgate, and it was, if you look back over how we've limped out of World Cup or Euros, whatever, it was literally rinse and repeat. It's the same reasons. It was cowardice.
Hello, I'm Matt Fordham from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received. Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
We're live in talkSPORT with Tool Station. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes. First stop, Tool Station. We are parked at the moment on England's exit from the World Cup at the semi-final stage last night at the hands of the wonderful Lionel Messi and Argentina, who progressed to the final to take on Spain on Sunday. England take on France in the bronze match. What use is that to anyone? Well, we'll probably talk about that before we go at 4 o'clock. In the meantime, we're talking about Thomas Tuchel. We're talking about the nature with which England exited the tournament last night, the surroundings of it, and the fact that they went out having led in the game, and then Messi took over and England danced to Messi's tune and went out. What now? Bill, big Chelsea fan, England fan. What do you think, Bill? You're next up. Where's your head with all of this?
Well, I don't think Thomas Tuchel should go. I've got to be honest. I hope he's learned that English supporters want our team to have a go, like they did with Craig.
Oh, we just lost him. England fans want their team to have a go. Steve, where are you at? West Ham fan Steve. What's your take on this? Do you want Tuchel to carry on?
No, I don't, Jim. No, I don't. Just a great show, by the way. Just a quick one, really. I don't think. I mean, politics is nowhere on the football stage. It shouldn't be, unless you're Argentina, obviously. But I don't think he failed to grasp the importance to England of that game. And I totally agree with Simon. They capitulated. You know, I turned it off once they equalised and Dan Burn came on. I turned it off because I knew which way it was going to go.
Right.
It was only going to go one way. I mean, I'm sat there. I'm a football fan. I'm not a football expert. And I'm sat there in my living room watching the game, and even I can see what's going wrong. So Simon's bang on. I would rather lose to Argentina, go down fighting, than capitulate like that. He's got to go.
Oh, he's got to go. Well, Steve, thanks for that. Bill, Chelsea fan Bill is back with us. You heard Steve, West Ham fan, saying Tuchel's got to go, but you disagree, Bill?
I disagree. I'm hoping that he understands our mentality, not to go out like when Southgate was manager, because it's just horrible to watch. And that second half, after we scored the goal, that game was horrible to watch. In fact, I watched it for 10 minutes, and I know we're going to lose this now. We're just not doing nothing. We were stuck inside our penalty box.
But Bill, you say he's got to understand what England supporters want, which is have a go. But he did understand that because he said it explicitly post the Euros 2024 when he was first given the job. He did an interview with ITV, which we've just played, where he talked about the failure of England in the Euros was because they had no identity and they didn't have a go. And they were more interested in navigating a game than winning it. So he knew what the job entailed. He knew what was expected of him. And when it came to his moment to stand up and be brave and make a really strong decision to take it to the opposition, and if we were going to get beat, we were going to get beat with our boots on rather than whimpering in a corner, he decided to whimper in the corner.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that from that he's learned and he understands that perhaps he shouldn't have done that, and in future he'll have a go. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm old enough to have seen England win the World Cup. I mean, I'm in my 70s. I was 10 when they won it. That was brilliant, you know? But,
okay, Bill, yeah, you're quite right to think the way you think. Why not? Steve's a Forest fan. Steve, where are you at with this? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be on the show with you both. I think, yeah, defo, we should go. He was brought in to win the World Cup and he hadn't done it.
Well, I mean, that it's as simple as that in the eyes of many, and you're one of them, Steve. You thought, Tuchel, yeah, we'll have him because he knows what the task is. Win it.
Well, I think like your last caller said, I hope he's going to learn in the future. He's had past tournaments to learn. He could have seen Southgate's mistakes. What's the point in bringing him in if he's just going to make the same mistakes again? I mean, like I say, it was clear to see. I feel sorry for some of the top players who's put individual performances in this tournament because they was out on their feet. He could have just brought fresh legs on. Do you know what I mean? There's no point having an Harry Kane on who can't run or Declan Rice who's knackered. Just bring people on you think they're gagging to get on. And people have said, "Oh, why bring Maynard on? He's not played." And put him into that fire pit because he would have wanted to prove himself.
Steve, are England as good as many people think they are?
We should be, but something's missing. We have the best league in the world. We have the best. That team is quite capable of winning something. And how, I don't know. But it's like I say, you can only change the players so much, but you've got to bring someone else in. I'm not bothered if it's a foreign manager. I rang him before when he got appointed. It doesn't bother me that he's German. And like I say, we have actually, when you look at the tournament, we haven't been that great.
I mean, Steve, you said the team is capable of winning something. England have been eliminated every time they faced a top 10 ranked nation in the knockout stages of the World Cup since 1998. So what do you base that on?
It's definitely, it must be some deep-seated mentality thing where we just come up against teams who just know. I think Navratilova said it at some point today. If you set up the team not to lose, you'll generally lose. And every time we face somebody, like Simon's previously said, who we really is going to be a test, we lose.
Yeah, but really, if you mention mentality, though, Steve, if you mention mentality to Tuchel, he bites your head off. That's the one thing you can't question, apparently. Steve, listen, great call, and it's been a pleasure having you on. Let's go to Gary, who's an Arsenal fan. He'll take us up to the top of the hour. Gary, good afternoon. Finish this off for us then. Tuchel, having him or not?
I think it's a no for me. I think you've got to look at the kind of the facts, really. Last night, we went like training ground defensive. It's like, he looks at every defender on the pitch, on the bench, and brought them all on. That's not the way to win a game of football against a team like Argentina. It's just not good enough. And he told us that he was going to do things differently, and he's not done things differently. He's done exactly the same as what's happened before, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we're left here as England fans. I watched that last night, and I think I've got to wait another 4 years now till another World Cup. And he's gonna maybe get sacked or not get sacked and go and do another job. But for us England fans, us football fans, it means so much to us. We get up for it so much. We're so close. I'm telling my 9-year-old yesterday, it's been 60 years since we won this, 60 years since the final. He's sitting there last night watching it with me. I'm watching it with my dad.
and I think to myself, like, I've now got to wait another 4 years, and I think our fans are so passionate about it. We deserve someone that is going to go for it, and he said he was going to do things a certain way. Maybe it got to the 11th hour and he panicked and he decided maybe not. Maybe it was better to try and hold the lead, but that's not what he said he was going to do. So he's gone against kind of, whatever it would have been said in his job interview.
Let me play devil's advocate just before you leave us. What would you say to those who might suggest to you, well, Gary, listen, your expectations are too high?
Why? What are too high?
Have you
not looked at the players that we've got?
I know, mate, but this is the most significant. This is the damning stat, mate. That you've gone every time they face a top 10 ranked nation since 1998. You've been eliminated.
Yeah,
you can't beat anyone good.
Messi yesterday, and about how good he is, but we had Harry Kane, and Harry Kane has been amazing this season, for England, and over the years he's been an amazing goal scorer. I think actually last night he was dead on his feet, and I think he should have brought Watkins on and stretched that Argentinian back line, because we were so deep. My girlfriend watched it and she doesn't know anything about football, and she's like, "Why are they always in our end? What are they always in our end for?" I'm like, "Well, it's because the tactical decisions that have been made."
But Gary, before you leave us, how do you explain that statistic? Why do England never beat anyone that they're not expected to beat?
Well, you could argue and say, well, maybe we're not good enough. That's a simple answer, isn't it?
That's my point.
But we've got the players. I'm not being funny, Jim, but look at some of the teams that you've beaten as a Scottish fan. Look at some of the in Champions League, the games that some of Rangers have won, Celtic have won. It's possible. There's no reason why not. There's no reason why we can't beat these teams, and there was no reason why we shouldn't have beaten Argentina last night. And I think a lot of it comes down to a mistake by the manager.
Brave management you need.
Gary, well done. Listen, thanks for the call. Go on.
You need brave.
Thanks, guys.
No problem.
You need brave management. There was nothing about that should. I mean, as everyone has delusions of grandeur in life because they all think that they're better than they really are in certain situations. But you need brave leaders.
So what have you had in 60 years? 60 years of cowardly managers.
I think in individual moments we've not been good enough during the 70s and 80s. No one's disputed that. I've never disputed that during the 70s and 80s we didn't have a good enough team. In the 90s we lost a World Cup final by a penalty shootout, so we had a different psychological barrier to get through. Since 98 we've had a variety of different opportunities, some of it because we haven't been good enough. In this instance, I think that England should win a tournament. Not necessarily. I think it's a stain on our football that we don't, because we are supposedly having the world's domestic most powerful league. So it's a stain. But then again, so is not having as many 4G pitches and facilities in this country as the Germans have got. But when you've got a situation where you need brave management, why don't we have brave managers? Why aren't they making brave decisions that would reflect the so-called indomitable spirit of this country's raison d'etre? Because there was nothing brave about not making a decision against Croatia, not making a decision against Italy, not making a decision against the French. And there was nothing brave in an elite manager, booked as an elite manager, saying we're gonna sit in this game and try and stop the Argentinians rather than make it a problem for them.
Is this a trade-off? Best league in the world, Premier League, but at international level, average.
But why is it the best league in the world? Because it's owned by everybody else that's not English and played in by most of the times by non-English players. And that's the tragedy of it all. But the bottom line is
that the trade-off?
A braver manager last night, and Thomas Tuchel will put his head on a pillow last night and for the ensuing nights going forward, wondering why he didn't make a brave decision. Now, maybe he's not a brave manager. Maybe he's a tactically pragmatic manager. That did not need tactical pragmatism. It needed bravery. It needed a sort of Ferguson sort of bravery, which is, come on then, if we're going to change the direction of travel, I'm going to inspire these players, because these players are looking at this, like Wayne Rooney said, and said, are we really going to weather this storm for 30 minutes?
That's right.
No, we're going to give the Argentinians something to worry about, and as the game opens out, we're going to take advantage of it. No,
a lot
we're
to get through in the final hour. England couldn't get through it last night. We'll get through this final hour with you. Thanks for all the calls. We're live on talkSPORT with Tool Station. First stop, Tool Station.
performance of the tournament. France absolutely didn't do anything.
Out there,
Had a
whimper.
nightmare performance. Yeah, whimper without no fight. But Spain, wow, that was watching Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. That was the way they were popping that ball past France to death. France couldn't handle the passing style of Spain. They weren't pressing as a team. You saw a team there in Spain, and you saw France with superstars that all had a nightmare of a game. And very poor performance from France. I'm sure they're going to be getting a lot of stick. Luckily, we got Emmanuel Petit on at the end of the show, and he's going to be thinking to himself, didn't see that coming.
I couldn't stop thinking about Manu last night.
Yeah,
I thought, oh my, even the show yesterday, I felt that we had such a build-up in favour of France. Have we completely underestimated Spain?
We've underestimated them, but rightly so in the sense of their performances in this tournament. You know, they haven't performed to the level they did last night. Sometimes we talk at start of tournaments that it's not about how you start a tournament, it's how you end them. And Spain have proved that. Drawing 0-0 to Cape Verde, and some of their performances haven't been exciting. Even the win over Portugal wasn't their greatest performance.
Yeah.
But they've kept their best form for the semi-finals, so it's going to be a scary final, whoever plays Spain. Because the way Rodri and Fabian Ruiz controlled that game, Cucurella looked like the best left-back in the world last night. The way he kept Elise quiet, that was a shadow of Elise we've seen this whole tournament. Dembele, Mbappe, Barcola, Doué, they had nothing for an organised Spanish side.
Really, I was in shock.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of us just couldn't believe what and we shouldn't be, because it's Spain. They're the current European champions.
Talk Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Toby Gillis. With an average of 22 million people watching, England-Argentina is the most watched TV event of the year. The audience peaked at 24 million, so with about 18,000 Argentines living in the UK, that's about 23,982,000 furious people today. But who's to blame for the anger? Simon Jordan says it has to be Thomas Tuchel.
He did the polar opposite of what I expected him to do. He did the polar opposite of what he said himself he would do when he talked about the lack of achievement in the Euro 24 team and the reasons why it was more interested in staying in the tournament than winning the tournament.
Yeah.
He exhibited all those characteristics. I mean, realistically speaking, my first reaction was this is bloody negligence.
Well, Mr. Jordan wants the FA to swing the axe, but it's understood they're sticking to their guns. Stuart Pearce told us Tuchel's tactics merit England fans' ire, but the performance of the best player ever, Leo Messi, might have done it for us anyway.
They've had that superstar, and not just a top-quality international player. I'm saying a superstar that can win games on their own. And make no mistake, Messi won that game on his own for Argentina.
The beef hasn't finished over this match either, with Downing Street saying FIFA must get involved over the Argentina players' banner saying the Falklands are Argentine. It appears to break the governing body's rules banning political statements at the World Cup. An unchanged side for England in round 2 with Argentina on Saturday. This time, though, it's the oval ball. Steve Borthwick leaving Henry Pollock on the bench despite his hat-trick against Fiji last weekend. Remember, you can head to talkSPORT 2 right now for full commentary of the Open at Royal Birkdale. Rory McIlroy takes to the course for his first round in just under 15 minutes. And India are just past the midpoint of their innings in the second ODI with England in Cardiff. Watching for talkSPORT cricket editor John Norman.
150 up for India, 150 for 3, and 50 for Virat Kohli as well. He's gone past 50 for the 78th time in one-day internationals, which is ridiculous. It's been not quite one-way traffic, but certainly the responsibility has been on the shoulders of Kohli. The wickets to fall, Gill, Sharma and Kishan. 150 for 3, start the 28th over, India.
Talk Sport News.
A woman has been charged over social media posts made following the killing of Anne Widdecombe, and the public could soon be stopped from buying the noisiest fireworks. Tom has more at 3:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. This summer, treat yourself to Bridgestone Turanza All-Season 6 tyres with a 25,000 mileage guarantee. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Might be some loud noises in the far southwest this afternoon. Small chance of a thunderstorm there. Hot and dry elsewhere. Dry and clear tonight and very warm overnight in the south.
afternoon, everybody. 6 minutes past 3 o'clock. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. We're live on your TV as well, so many of you watch us live these days. I was told this throughout our stay in New York for the month we were out there. There's so many people out there have come to terms with the fact that this is a TV show as well as a radio show. Primarily, we're live on talkSPORT. Of course we are. And we're following up the pretty desperately sad news, if you're an England fan, that England went out at the hands of Argentina last night at the semi-final stage, and the World Cup final dream is well and truly over. Simon has a strong view in it, as you'd expect, that maybe time is up for Thomas Tuchel. But how do others feel? Alex Crook, our colleague, talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, is still out in New York and has witnessed it all out there, just as we did back here last night. Alex, good afternoon to you. Tuchel, to go or to stay, where do you stand on it?
Good afternoon, Jim. Good afternoon, Simon. I've just had the news that I'm actually coming back tomorrow as well now to host your show from Monday. So thank you, Thomas Tuchel. Not only is England's World Cup journey over, mine is coming to an end as well. Even more reason for me to be angry with the manager. And yeah. I completely agree with Simon's sentiments. I went to bed last night thinking Thomas Tuchel should fall on his sword and resign. And I've woken up this morning with that same belief. This was not on the players, this was on the manager, the so-called elite manager who was brought in to do what Gareth Southgate couldn't do and get us over the line in the big games. He did the complete opposite. We had Argentina where we wanted them. They were there for the taking. To go so defensive with 20 minutes plus a lot of stoppage time to play was a dereliction of duty. And I said as soon as he made that change to go to a back five, we won't even get to extra time. Argentina will win this game in 90 minutes. How can you be an elite manager, a winner, and think the best way to beat Argentina, the world champions, the holders of this World Cup, is to let the best player on the planet, Lionel Messi, dink balls into your box for 25 minutes?
But Alex, he can't become a bad manager overnight, can he? And also, they improved his contract during this World Cup. So they're not going to pivot now, are they?
No, they're not. My understanding is that the FA have belief in the manager. Tuchel isn't going to fall on his sword. But again, much like Scotland with Steve Clarke, why would you give a manager an improved new contract before a ball has been kicked to the tournament? I think he played a blinder, Thomas Tuchel. I think he gave the FA the impression that Manchester United was seeking his services. I'm not sure that was ever really the case. They were when Eric Ten Hag was in situ, but Michael Carrick was always going to be the direction of travel. I think he's had the FA's trousers down, Jim.
Okay, I'll bring Simon in on this very shortly. Mark Bullingham, as you know, on LinkedIn of the FA. Thomas and the coaches led brilliantly throughout, and the players responded with an incredible brotherhood to take us through to the semis. And then he says Thomas and his team will take us to the home Euros in 2028. This was Mark Bullingham when Tuchel got the job, Alex, and he was asked, all right, why Tuchel? Why a German in the job? And this was Bullingham.
We're always really clear that we wanted the very best person for the job. And we feel like we owe it to the players and the country to give them that support, that leadership in tournaments that will help to get them over the line and give us the best chance of winning a trophy in the Men's World Cup. So we feel we've done that. We feel delighted that Thomas has joined us.
I mean, there were supposed to be performance clauses in Tuchel's contract. Alex, do we know what they are?
No, but I'd imagine reaching a semi-final when you're the fourth seed is probably okay in that regard. I'm not sure that would be seen as a sackable offence necessarily. So, yeah, Tuchel's going to stay. There's no doubt about that. But I would like to see a bit more contrition from the manager as well when he comes out after the game and says he has no regrets about what he did with those in-game substitutions. I think he's deluding everybody.
Simon, I think Alex is singing from your hymn sheet.
Well, we're saying a lot of similar things. I mean, it's like watching England last night, like watching an underdog in a tennis match, being 2 sets in the one, and then questioning if they deserve to be in that position and capitulating. That's exactly what Thomas Tuchel sat there doing to some extent. And he was brought in to make big decisions. He didn't make them, or the decisions he made. I mean, you've got to, I think there were times to be pragmatic. Of course, there's time to be pragmatic, but there was also times to be brave. And to win a World Cup, I know the Greeks did it in 2004. They were pragmatic through the tournament and managed to find their way into a Euro Championship winning team. But on the whole, if you're playing against the world champions and you've got them 1-0 up, you've got to put your foot on their throat. It was a criticism that I made of Gareth Southgate against the French when we got back into the game in the quarterfinals in Qatar, and we had the French on the rack, and Gareth wasn't brave enough to overload the front line and really put the French to the sword. Thomas Tuchel didn't react to the opportunity, didn't take the opportunity. In fact, he went the other way. He let the players dictate the mentality and then decided to compound it by supporting them in that mentality of dropping back and questioning whether they had the ability to beat this team. And then attacking players off, not replacing Declan Rice on a like-for-like basis with someone like Kobe Manu, who could have come on and done a job with Messi, rather than let Messi have the free range that he got.
Yeah.
We seeded the midfield. We had no output ball. Harry Kane is not a player of any pace, so there's no point having him on a field when you're trying to get up the pitch. So with that in mind, Thomas Tuchel shows a set of criteria and qualifications that belie the title that he was given in terms of Mark Bullingham giving us the best opportunity to get across the line. That was not the very thing that Mark Bullingham said was the case in the appointment. That was not the best opportunity to get across the line.
Alex, I know the graph that you put in when you're at a major tournament like this. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to tell us more on this one. So Christian Romero and Argentina in Sunday's final. Is Romero on his way out of Tottenham Hotspur?
Yeah, almost certainly. I think that's been the case for several months now. The fact he almost missed their crunch relegation decider on the final day of the season tells you that his heart is no longer with Spurs. They've obviously brought in a couple of defensive reinforcements already in Marcus Senesi and Jan-Paul van Hecke. Mickey van der Ven I expect to stay because the asking price would be too big for a lot of his suitors, so there isn't really a place for Romero at Tottenham anymore. Inter Milan, I think, his most likely destination. I know there's been some talk of Barcelona as well. To me, he's a classic Diego Simeone Atletico Madrid player, but it looks like the trail has gone cold there. But I would expect Romero to leave Spurs in the coming days after this World Cup final.
Alex, thank you very much indeed. Ended not in the way you would have liked, but we'll see you back here sooner than we thought. Simon, on Romero, we know that spent virtually the last 18 months of his time at Tottenham Hotspur seemingly calling out the ambition of the board.
Yeah.
And he got into some fairly dangerous territory. Do you think that this was always on the cards, that it would lead to him exiting from the
certainly
football
in the last
club?
year, I think he elevated, and I think that's because there was a vacuum of leadership. And when there's a vacuum of leadership, people start filling it with their comments, start getting brave and bolder. And so he did get into that space. I think he's a very good player. You saw him last night, one particular piece of skill that he did, and dropped it from one foot and pushed it out the other. And that kind of level of composure and quality is what he got. Romero, he's a good player. He does have that sort of combustible temperament. I had thought and hoped, without really having much investment, that someone like De Zerbi, because there's that old saying, isn't there? All the angels rejoice in heaven when one sinner repents. If you can get Romero to have converted into, because he's a player. He's a player. No doubt about it, he's a player. If De Zerbi could have got him on side and converted him from being a dissenting voice to being a powerful leading voice, you'd have had actually even more powerful statement from the manager. Clearly, they think it's probably not worth the time and aggravation. He's halfway out the door, so might as well facilitate the outcome. But there's no doubt in my mind that Christian Romero was a good player. I just think they lost sight. He lost sight of the fact that he wasn't bigger than the club, and he was allowed to believe that he could say certain things and behave in a certain way, and that is a combination of Postecoglou's management and a combination of Thomas Frank's management.
You have to also think, though, Sam, before we hit this break, it was in many areas of what he said, he was right. Calling out the board for
hold on. He was. It's all.
Well, look at how they've responded.
It's all well and good.
As you would say, they've spent money like drunken sailors.
It's all well and good criticising people for putting you in the cart, but when you're one of the people that puts you in the cart, it's a bit of a bleeding sauce. Get on with your job. Get on with what you're doing. Are you being the best version of yourself before you start telling everyone else that they should be the best version of themselves? Now, we know, we discussed this and we've gone around the houses as to the reasons why the Lewis family may well have changed the game. And if they'd have changed the game when Levy would have been there, would Daniel have taken advantage of that money? Because I'm pretty damn sure that Daniel Levy running the football club didn't want to cost himself an inordinate amount of interest on the value of the football club in terms of the interest they're paying to the bank if the Lewis family were going to make hundreds of millions of pounds available as they seem to be doing now. So the rules have changed. Romero had a lot to say for himself, but there's a lot of footballers that have got a lot to say for themselves when really what they should be doing is focusing on what they're doing. And it's always a way to deflect from their own shortcomings. And that's why I made the point earlier on about saying this is one of the rare occasions, not because I spend my entire time hating on players, but one of the rare occasions where I actually feel a degree of empathy for those footballers yesterday, because I do feel that their manager let them down.
Right, okay. as I said earlier on, I haven't heard you say that before. We're live on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes. First stop, Toolstation.
Couldn't get anywhere near Spain, could they, in the midfield? Do you think that the manager should have made a change at half-time? Maybe Digne come off for Hernandez, and also maybe an extra midfielder come on for an attacker?
Well, the fact that Rabiot left at the half-time because he received straight away, yellow card. He was probably our best player on the pitch for the first 45 minutes. But anyway, you could have changed the entire team, against Spain in the half-time. It would have changed nothing. So I think we looked so nervous, so far away from our level. Tactically and technically, we were so poor. Credit to Spain. They really deserve to win. They play really well. I thought that we were different with what happened, 4 years ago. But it was kind of the same game. And they control everything. We had no inspiration, no creativity, no personality. And it was so sad to watch them because I had the feeling watching the game that it was kind of the same game against Morocco, But
do you know what was baffling me, Emmanuel, was whenever you won the ball back, just give the ball away cheaply. Everybody was. No shots on target.
We were so far away from each other, Yeah. So, I think tactically we lost the game. But technically as well, we were so poor, But we looked so nervous. So I still don't understand what happened yesterday. There's so many things that we're missing, in that game, and that's why I think we should get over it and still work on it. And but Spain are still our worst enemy, actually, and it was a lesson of football yesterday, to be honest with you.
Ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
talkSPORT's Big Match Build-Up with Village Hotels. Watch the big games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com.
This will sound painful for many of you out there. We're going to look ahead to the final, Sunday's World Cup final with Village Hotels. And of course, it's a final that doesn't feature England. Spain against Argentina, Simon. Judging from what you said earlier on, you can't really see past Spain.
Masterclass Spain did on the French. And they'll do it on the Argentinians. And they'll do it with... and they've got players that can hurt the Argentinians. They'll be brave, as they were against the French. they'll take the game to the Argentinians, they'll put them to the sword, and they won't let them back in it. And so I don't see past the Spanish in any shape or form, for what my opinions are worth and what my predictions are worth, because they're not worth a lot in terms of getting it right, because I thought England would get to the final. But I don't see past the Spanish, because I think they're an infinitely better side than the Argentinians. And we can make all we want to make about the Messi effect, but the way that they played against France, the manner in which they controlled the game at their pace, how they wanted to, they didn't give the ball back to the French when the French decided to be brave and push forward, and the Spanish got hold of the ball. And when it was their time to be brave, the Spaniards, they took the game. They didn't go, oh, we got 1-0, we got a lucky penalty, we're 1-0 up. They went and put the French under even more pressure. So I don't see them wilting under that sort of expectation. They're the European champions. They know what it looks like to win. Their players have gotten better and better in this tournament, as the manager tragically said in his insightful observations about their peaking. They are peaking. They've just beaten the French. They'll beat the Argentinians.
Right. You're going to have a party at your place in Spain.
I don't want to now.
For the World Cup. You're not having it. So you're going to have it the day before then?
I'm not
for
gonna
the bronze match, France-England.
No, I'm not going to do that. We want to see that crappy game. Who's interested in that? I mean, I just think that's an insult of a game. Who cares who finishes third and fourth? It can be only for commercial returns for FIFA. It's an indignation. The players have been out there for 5 or 6 weeks. Nobody wants to play in this bleeding game.
Does a bronze medal mean nothing?
Well, no, it's second loser, isn't it? I mean, what's the purpose of that?
I mean, in this game, actually, Mbappe
society where we have participation medals, I suppose it is worth something.
In terms of all-time World Cup goal-scoring charts, Mbappe's one behind Messi here. So he could be cute and get a couple against your lot, and then overtake Messi.
I guess so. If he
should it count, actually, that statistic, if he does?
Not really. No, I don't think this is a... I don't know, Jim. I don't really care. I mean, the game in of itself means nothing to me. I think it's a chore for the players. They are representing their countries, and insofar as they have a job to do, they should do it well, right? But insofar as a viewing public, and I don't want a World Cup party. All my Italian mates who are crying about, one of them texted me earlier on saying, "You lot complaining about got to wait another 4 years. What about us?" I said, well, I don't care about you lot. Who cares about you lot?
That's kind of you.
But the fact of the matter is that people still want to come around and watch the game, and I have to say, I don't have the same motivations.
You're not going to be in?
I'll be in to watch it because I should watch it.
Yeah.
This is a World Cup final.
You'll be doing your shopping. You can watch the games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com.
talkSPORT Big Match Build-Up with Village Hotels. Watch the big games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com.
This has been making all the news bulletins, of course. The Argentinian players celebrated their win last night in Atlanta by unfurling a banner on the pitch reading, "The Falklands are Argentinian. Las Malvinas son Argentinas." Appears to be throwing you can see the banner now if you're watching live on YouTube. It appears to be thrown onto the pitch by fans, and the players get a hold of it. And what do you know? Paredes, in a post-match interview, said the Falklands will always be Argentinian.
Idiot.
I mean, how incendiary were the Argentinians post-match? And in actual fact, I mean, when you think of it, with the issue of the Falkland Islands and everything that's gone before it, were they always motivated by more, the Argentinian players?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, the situation that developed post-82 and in the 86 tournament, where the players could relate, as the journalist said the other day, they could relate to the conscription of young men into a conflict with the British over a piece of land that they arguably suggested as theirs as a result of their deal, as a result of independence from Spain they had all those years ago in an island that was actually discovered by the British, had no inhabitants and only has British inhabitants live there who don't want Argentine governance. So you can talk about this until besides the geographical landscape, they have no real claim to it. But these guys that are just sitting there being jingoistic about it, if that's what gets their blood flowing, then that's what gets their blood flowing.
And undoubtedly it does.
And you saw the game. You saw the spirited nature of the game. Yeah. I mean, I was watching the game and Michelle was watching with me. She's watching the two games, Norway and Argentina, and her knowledge of football is very limited. And she's looking at the two games going, look at the level of intensity in this game as opposed to the dull Norwegian game, because you could see the Argentinians and the British and the English players were at it.
You could see it in the national anthems.
Yeah. And that's what it should be like on an international stage as a matter of course anyway, shouldn't it? But this sort of stuff, first of all, they should be sanctioned for having it on the field, and they made a big 4-act play out of it. They should be sanctioned, albeit they didn't bring it themselves.
A fine or
well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, whatever FIFA's governance is for this kind of for this kind of deployment of political messaging, there should be consequence. They wouldn't care. It's not going to make any difference. But either have some rules and uphold them, or don't have any rules. They either mean something or they mean nothing.
You see, even the politicians were getting the Argentinian players fired up. Argentina's vice president, Victoria,
that was just pig ignorant, wasn't it?
Villarreal. She says, not Villarreal, that's a club. Villarreal. She says, tomorrow we play the usurping Pirates. That's England.
Yeah.
This isn't just a match. I'm not going to be politically correct or cold-hearted. Against the English, it's always something more. It's the Malvinas. It's Diego. It's Leo's last one. It's putting the brakes on the invaders.
Yeah.
Go Argentina.
I mean, the lady that was on yesterday, who was a very educated journalist who gave us some very interesting thinking, I thought that was a revolting sentiment and unnecessary. And I mean, she attributed it to the favourite expression of everybody who doesn't like something, which is far right. I'm not entirely sure if it's a far right expression or just an ignorant one, right? But the fact of the matter is, it was an incendiary set of obligations. The players themselves have no relationship with the circumstances of 1982. But if it fires up a sentiment that gives you national pride, then whatever gets your blood boiling, whatever gets the sangria flowing, blood flowing, is whatever it takes to ultimately get outcomes. I mean, we don't have the same passion towards it because we perhaps don't have the same societal construct as they do.
Yeah.
But
I mean, back in 2014, the Argentina FA were fined 20 grand after its players did something similar, displayed a banner with the same slogan before a friendly win against Slovenia in La Plata. So, they'll hit them in the pocket, but that's about it.
They don't care, do they? I mean, it's not going to hit the players in the pocket. And even if it did hit the players in the pocket, what's that? The money they put in a slot machine for 5 minutes.
Exactly.
You know?
We're live on talkSPORT with Tool Station. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes. First stop, Tool Station. McCarthy joined Simon and Piers, decided to take Piers Morgan on regarding an incident way back in 2009 when, as Wolves manager, he rested a number of players for a trip to Old Trafford.
I've always respected you hugely, genuinely, as a manager.
Except when I dropped 10 players at Wolverhampton.
Yeah, well, that was terrible.
You did say something that I was particularly unhappy about.
I thought it was shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, hang on. Well, what was your problem with what I said? You must have known I was right.
You're never right, mate. you just antagonise people with your comments, which you're doing on this show quite clearly. No. So when you said it, my job is to win games.
Yes.
We went to Spurs the Saturday before. We won 1-0 with about 35% possession. We've got Manchester United on the Tuesday. I went there and I dropped 10 players. I have a squad of 22. If I'm a manager, it's my right to manage that team how I see and get results.
And it's my right as an Arsenal fan who you were directly impacting with your cowardice
because you weren't good enough because you weren't good enough to win the title. And Sir Alex won it again and he won it. You weren't good enough, so you blame me, which is real bad on my part.
I know what Roy Keane's problem was.
No,
just to be clear. By dropping 10 players, you let United walk all over you, which had a direct impact on my team's chances of winning the league. I thought that was an appalling abrogation of your duty as a manager to entertain the fans with the best available team.
Clear you up. My duty was to beat Burnley on the Saturday, and we did.
Well, Mick hasn't forgotten, has he? That's for sure.
Oh, no, he went further than that. He said that Piers was a purveyor of the wrist action. Went into that sort of territory, which I was inclined to agree with.
the beautiful things about the World Cup is when someone just takes the tournament by storm. Some obvious names pop up, like James Rodriguez. Back in the 90s, there was Salvatore Schillaci. 6 of his 7 career goals for Italy came at Italia 90 as he carried the Azzurri to a 4th-place finish at home. That was the tournament we saw a 38-year-old Roger Miller go from Cameroonian squad player to dancing by the corner flag. And of course, in 98, Michael Owen, who the rest of the world hadn't really heard of before he made some Argentinian greats look like school children. And thinking about Liverpool, they probably wish the 2002 World Cup never happened, because they signed this guy off the back of his performances in Japan and South Korea. They could have had him instead, and Steven Gerrard's still crying. No player's ever taken a tournament by storm quite like Paolo Rossi, though. He served a 2-year match-fixing ban before the 1982 World Cup and did absolutely nothing in the group stage. But then, an explosion of goals. A hat-trick against Brazil, 2 in the semis against Poland, 1 in the final against West Germany. Italy won the World Cup thanks to him. He also took home the Golden Ball and the Golden Boot. He's the only player to ever win all 3 in the same tournament. The World Cup is full of fairy tales, but none compare to Rossi's 82.
Gee whiz, indeed. Just gone 3:30 this Thursday afternoon. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. Let's get back to football in a second. Let's head to Royal Birkdale. And it's the Open. And it's Hugo Chambray.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. You come to me at an interesting time because Bryson DeChambeau has missed 3 of 4 cuts in golf's majors this year. But at the end of his first round, he is tying for the lead at 4 under par. Elsewhere, Tommy Fleetwood, well, he's the hometown hero this week, but he has, well, carded a round of 1 under par. He looked ropey, 2 bogeys on the back 9, and Rory McIlroy is just getting his Open campaign underway. Won it back in 2014. Now he is par through the first hole. That lead at 4 under par, and live coverage is over on talkSPORT 2.
The Open Championship update on talkSPORT with Arnold Clark. Get a discounted home charger from just £549 when you buy an electric car today.
So, of course, after the events last night in Atlanta and England failing at the semi-final stage of this World Cup, it remains that 1966 team here on home soil in London, they remain the only winners of a World Cup, the only England winners of a World Cup back in 1966. And we know the names, of course we do. So Geoff Hurst still alive. The others, sadly, have gone. Names like Sir Bobby Charlton, Jack Charlton, and others. Bobby Moore, who held the trophy aloft. Now a coroner has ruled, Simon, that England World Cup winner Nobby Stiles died with a brain condition caused by repeatedly heading a football. Simon, we've spoken about this before, but as well as Sir Alf Ramsey, the manager, 6 of the 10 outfield players from the 1966 team have now died after suffering dementia at an unusually young age. And Stockport Coroner's Court heard at the inquest into his death that Styles died with severe dementia and had headed a football around 140,000 times during the course of his career. He died at age 78. Expert analysis of his brain showed his severe dementia was a result of Alzheimer's disease, but also the condition chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, which has been associated with head trauma from heading a ball. But the fact remains, a coroner rules that Nobby died with a brain condition caused by repeatedly heading a football. Now, we know that John Styles, son of Nobby, is the head of Football Families for Justice, a group which is calling on the football authorities to do more for ex-players. And I'm delighted to say that John joins us live. John, good afternoon to you. It's another landmark ruling, John, but is it going to lead to anything significant in your view?
I hope so, Jim. Based on the past, what's happened whenever we had sort of, if you like, a breakthrough like this, it just seems to get put into the long grass as usual. Jim, if I may, can I just read out a very brief statement that I made to the media yesterday when I came out of the inquest?
Yes, John.
It may answer some of the questions you might have.
Sure.
5 years ago, Professor Stewart of Glasgow University confirmed that CTE had killed my dad. Professor Stewart is the world-leading authority on brain injuries incurred by football players. Today, the coroner's inquest has confirmed that heading caused the CTE, which contributed to Dad's death. This is no surprise. This mirrors the conclusions of the inquest into the deaths of Gordon McQueen and Chris Nicholl. There are thousands of such deaths as footballers incur fatal brain disease at 4 times the national average. The football industry refuses to provide help to these players and families. The government refuses to intervene. Tragically, the brain injuries epidemic will grow as more girls play football. Women's brains are even more susceptible to damage from heading. The industry and government have failed to implement a strategy of prevention. Today's players incur the same fatal brain injuries. As yesterday, as we celebrated the football heroes of today, 60 years after the heroics of 1966, it is right to remember the people like Dad and thousands of others abandoned by an industry rolling in cash. It is a shame and a scandal that the industry and the government have failed to support these vulnerable people.
Wow, powerful words, John. So, I mean, when you look at it now, what needs to happen now? Logically to you, John, what is the next step? Because you are tireless in your campaigning. And I know that. You've been on with Simon and myself before. And now the coroner rules that your dad died with a brain condition caused by repeatedly heading a football. To you, John, what realistically would look like progress moving forward?
A proper fund so that families are taken care of when the loved one has to go into a care home. Not the pathetic £1 million fund that has been created by the Premier League and the PFA, which is a PR stunt, in my opinion. We need a proper fund that's quantified to help players who are in serious trouble and in care homes. And we also need a strategy of education because, as I said before in the statement, the girls' game, the women's game is booming, and apparently they're even more susceptible. There needs to be a whole education of, as far as I'm concerned, it should go into schools. But as I said to you before, Jim and Simon, in 2021, Professor Willie Stewart and myself wrote to all the league clubs to ask if we could come and speak to the players about the dangers, and we never got in anywhere. And since I last came down to see you when you kindly had me on your show, virtually nothing's changed. Nothing's changed.
I mean, that must be enormously frustrating. Having said that, in March this year, John, lawyers for the FA told the High Court it has not been established by science that hitting a ball or occasional concussion can lead to permanent brain damage. So that's their stance, Simon. Where do you stand on
their
this?
stance is that they don't want it to be classified as an industrial injury. They want it to be classified as a no-fault injury. Everybody knows what the circumstances. There's nothing that's been discovered about John's father that really wasn't common sense to determine that this was the real outcome. We know that this is as a result of heading a football. I I had thought there'd been some material changes in the approaches towards how certain age groups are allowed to have footballs and how coaching is developed into a certain way where heading is becoming a slightly more considered circumstance.
Yeah.
But the idea, and there's nothing unreasonable about this, where the money comes from is a different discussion, that there is a fund made available to those disadvantaged by it, is not something that should be beyond the remit. And I would always make the case that the biggest voice in the room should be the union. The biggest voice in the room shouldn't be John Stiles, shouldn't be Penny Watson, shouldn't be Dawn Astle, should be the union, because they are the ones that were capable once upon a time under Gordon Taylor of rinsing 1% of the broadcast revenues from the broadcasters.
Do you agree with Simon on that, John? Where are you in that?
The PFA are hardly worth talking about, to be honest with you, Simon.
I know they are, but they shouldn't be allowed to get away with it. John,
I agree totally, entirely with you, Simon. I mean, as you know, we've spoken about this before.
Yeah.
Effectively, the union is on the payroll of the Premier League, and they get the money off the Premier League every year, which effectively pays the wages. The subs won't even cover Malango's wages. But the union is cynical and very clever, and what they have done is those fantastic people that you spoke about a couple of minutes ago, they've actually embroidered their now into the PFA. And I believe that those good people are being used as air cover.
What does the DCMS say about this sort of thing? You've got Andy Burnham going into office, who is a fully paid up member of the football fraternity in terms of having strong opinions about the sport. You want government intervention to be able to make some degree of legislative circumstance about supporting the industry and making sure that there's a fund available. I don't know if you have a quantum in mind. Did you have a quantum in mind that is required to support a generation of footballers that economically didn't make the kind of money out of football that's being made in this day and age that need the support? Do you have a quantum?
Well, I spoke to Professor Willie Stewart some time ago, and he did a loose calculation based on his, and he said that up front we probably need, well, at least 34 million. And when you've spoken before, Simon, you said it was between 50 and 100 million in the fund, at least. Just with regards to the DCMS, we've been working with the DCMS for the last 18 months, and the review was supposed to come to an end. We had a meeting with the DCMS, and we've been bitterly disappointed that with their reaction, really disappointed. They have taken the word of the PFA and everything they've said to them, and we are bitterly disappointed.
Do you think, John, I mean, this is maybe an off-tangent conversation, but do you think the new IFR has any place to play in this? The independent regulator that's been brought into the game.
Yeah.
I think it should do.
Yeah.
But what we're getting at the moment is his scope is too tight, and he can change it.
Yeah.
Andy Burnham backed us in Manchester. He did a press conference for the Football Families for Justice. He took us to Parliament, where we went down and we lobbied MPs in April last year. And obviously, we're hoping that we'll get more help than we're getting at the moment. But at the moment, we are just bitterly disappointed that we haven't had the reassurances of help that we did receive from the Prime Minister, Lisa Nandy, and the Sports Minister.
John, before you leave us, I think I know the answer to this, but you're not going to stop fighting, are you? After the coroner ruled that your dad, Nobby, died with a brain condition caused by repeatedly heading a football, you're coming up against a brick wall, but you're not going to stop. In terms of the work that you do and the campaigning that you do, you're tireless.
We're not going to stop, Jim. We're not going to let the PFA get away with their inactivity and trying to hamper what we're doing. We're going to keep fighting. If anything, Jim, after this thing yesterday from the coroner, we're just getting started. We need to get the families the help they need, and we're not going to stop.
John, amazing.
Look at the morality of the situation. The Premier League spends £50 million fighting a case against Man City.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Just before we leave it, Simon, the FA is phasing out all heading in youth football up to under 11s by 2026, by this year. So
that is an acknowledgement of the challenges that exist as a result of it. The problem that they have is they do not want an industrial injury perspective, because if it's classified that, you're opening yourself up to every single conceivable claim going back as far as when God was in shorts. So they've got to find a way through this. And if you're not getting any help from the PFA, the union that should be representing its players, it's almost unfathomable. It makes no sense to me besides the observation that John is making, which is that you're in bed with the Premier League. The Premier League is carving out 1% of its money into your coffers. The £30 million a year that the Premier League, the PFA get as a result of the deal that Gordon Taylor did in 2001 or whatever it was, has some meaning behind it. Surely the PFA's job should be prima facie to extract the best outcomes for its union members.
Well, exactly. Well, the FA co-funded with the PFA
£1 million fund,
a 2019 study that found that footballers were 3.5 times more likely to die of neurodegenerative disease,
but as a direct result of
than age-match members of
but now it's moved on from that, and it's now being
Yeah.
attributed directly as a result of heading a football, not just because they've been in a sport which has contact with a football. This is as a direct result of heading a football, which makes it to some extent an industrial injury. And the moment it becomes an industrial injury, then you start to find yourself in a territory of the industry being responsible for the outcomes that are not happening currently for these players and those that are around them and supporting them.
To me, Simon, the saddest line in all of this, in 2010, and you'll know this, Nobby Stiles sold his winning 1966 winner's medal to pay for his care. It's a sad state of affairs, but John Stiles campaigns tirelessly, son of World Cup winner Nobby Stiles, and no doubt hear from John in days and weeks to come, because this is something we have covered in the past on this show and will continue to do so. We're coming up to 10 to 4.
When we have a 4-2-4 system, players like Olmo, if you look at him, he's always between two lines. This player, you saw it in the game with Belgium, you saw it in the game with Portugal. He is exactly the kind of, I would say, a virus who is entering in the blood of the opponents, and he killed us. He was one of the players perfectly suited to kill us.
Yeah. Can I just ask your thoughts on Mbappe last night as well? I mean, did he let himself down, Eric? I know he's a big player, he's a big personality, but even walking off last night, not shaking anybody's hands, I mean, how does that look?
It looks like the real Mbappe is back. There is two Mbappe, the one who is having a mission and the one who can be positive and working and sharing and being the leader of a team. And when he loses his gift, his toy, when the toy is broken, suddenly the teenager who is part of him comes back, the one who is selfish, the one who is a bit aggressive when he gets a yellow card with the goalkeeper, the one who doesn't share hands with opponent, the one who suddenly in the last 20 minutes he knew the game was lost and he played for himself. He made some useless kicks, shots. Sorry. So altogether, we are back with the Mbappe from Paris Saint-Germain, the Mbappe sometimes of Real Madrid, the Mbappe that we know that I spoke about it from the very early stage of the tournament, who is selfish. And when he's selfish like that, then you lose the man on the mission. The mission was lost, Mbappe was back.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
Well, this Saturday, Harlem Eubank takes on David Papot live from the Copper Box Arena in London. Then next week, Anthony Joshua makes his comeback against Christian Prenga. Join DAZN Ultimate. Get access to 185 plus fight nights and 12 plus pay-per-view events every year, including Joshua Prenga, July 25, all included at no extra cost. It's time for this.
Football Form Roundup on talkSPORT with Sky Bet. The world's gone football. Get in on it with Sky Bet. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Yeah, time now for the latest odds with Sky Bet. For that, we're joined by Ross Williams. Ross, good afternoon to you. Where do we start? Thomas Tuchel, what are you thinking about Tuchel?
Yeah, good afternoon, Jim. Yeah, I've been listening to the show today, and understandably, Tuchel under the microscope in a big way after the exit last night. Yeah, I mean, as you said earlier, the FA seemingly in support of the manager, aren't they? With that in mind, we're making him 3-1 to be replaced before England's first Nations League game on September 26th, about 2 months from now. Ironically, that will be against Spain, which for a little while looked like a World Cup final last night. On the flip side of that, based on the noises, Tuchel is 1-5 on to remain in post for at least that game, despite that noise, which is growing. We do have a next England manager market live right now on Sky Bet. However, in the event that Tuchel is replaced at some point, whether it be in the next few days, whether it be a little bit further down the track, Pep Guardiola would get plenty of fan support for obvious reasons. He's 10-3 second favourite. There's a few interested names in there as well. Mauricio Pochettino is third favourite, 7-1. Lee Carsley, obviously, has been interim for a little while. He was 15-2. A Gareth Southgate return is 10-1 currently. But the favourites, the favourite at 5-2 is the man. He's probably been linked to the job more than anyone else, hasn't he? That'd be Eddie Howe. He's currently favourite to, at some point, take on the job from Thomas Tuchel.
Okay, Ross, what about Sunday's final then? What's your thinking?
Yeah, the market's now open, obviously. Spain, we've installed them as pretty strong favourites at this point after they dismantled France, obviously, on Tuesday night. European champions, they're 8-13 to lift the trophy. They're 5-4 to win the game in normal time. Argentina, on the flip side, 6-5 to go back-to-back. Obviously, they'd be the third team ever to do that. They're 5-2, though, to win the game in normal time, which might be quite interesting to customers with the amount of late goals that they've been scoring. Messi will be key, of course, no matter what happens for Argentina on Sunday. He's in pole position for the race for the Golden Boot now as well. He's 2-5 on to win that race following a few assists last night. Kylian Mbappe, though, still in with a shout, 13-8, with Saturday's third place playoff, of course, still to be played.
Fantastic. Ross, thank you very much indeed. That was all thanks to Ross and Sky Bet. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Football Form Roundup on talkSPORT with Sky Bet. Download the Sky Bet app and get in on it with Sky Bet. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Now, just before we leave you today, former Crystal Palace boss Oliver Glasner has taken up residence at Nottingham Forest after getting the job there and looks forward to a new season in the Premier League with Marinakis and Nottingham Forest. He's been speaking a short time ago. He was asked, OK, then, what about winning silverware at Nottingham Forest? Is that realistic?
Probably I found one of the few persons who is more ambitious than I am, and it's quite difficult. So I think we will challenge each other with ambition. But again, for me, the difference is being ambitious. Every Premier League club is ambitious. Every Premier League owner is ambitious. Every Premier League manager is ambitious. Every Premier League player is ambitious. Yeah. So that doesn't automatically mean that you win silverware, because then every team would win silverware. But it's just not possible. Yeah. Mathematically not possible. And so it doesn't make sense after 3 days talking about silverware. It's now really getting consistency into this club and starting to build the foundation to succeed. That's important. You're not talking about the end product when you don't know the ingredients. Yeah? So we are now trying to find the right ingredients in every single part, and then with these ingredients, hopefully we get a great meal, because then we will be successful.
So that was Oliver Glasner. Interestingly, Simon, he says, I've met somebody who's got more than ambition than me in Marinakis.
Yes.
He's saying, we know what Marinakis is about. Okay. Trophies. Indeed. What do you think? He's going to do it there, isn't he? He's going to win something.
Well, it'd be interesting to see what his brief is. I mean, his brief surely is to win things. So all this waffle around the background of what we'll see what we've got. What have you been brought in to do? Have you been brought in to win things, individual football matches, and subsequently circumstances of outcomes, which you had with Crystal Palace. The team that you were there with last year, this club stood on the shoulders of giants, in this instance being Crystal Palace, by the Crystal Palace's failure to administrate properly, and then they ended up being booted out of the Europa League. He has all the credentials of being a top quality manager, besides engaging his mouth before he engaged his brain last year. And that precluded him from bigger opportunities in Nottingham Forest, I suspect. Marinakis is ambitious. Glasner is a good manager. And if he's given the support that he clearly wasn't given at Crystal Palace, however he behaved, and I don't agree with the way that he behaved, he wasn't given the support that his achievements merited. And that's because Crystal Palace put the preservation of Crystal Palace beyond the individual ambitions of a manager who would leave you in the long run anyway for a bigger opportunity when it came along his way. So there is a balance between what a manager wants and thinks he's entitled to, and how long he sticks around until a better job comes along for him. Nottingham Forest is a good job for him. Marinakis is an owner that gives you plenty of support and enables you to be even successful. And if you ain't good enough, you get booted out the door. You don't muck about. Glasner is good enough. He's a good manager. He plays a decent brand of football. And I'm disappointed that it didn't work out for him better at Crystal Palace, that Crystal Palace's loss is Nottingham Forest's gain.
Okay, we wish you well, Oliver. Like him, met him not that long ago, and he's a good guy. We shall see what happens in the coming days, of course. We have the bronze match in the World Cup, which will now feature France and England. And that's because England failed last night to get themselves to the final. That will be contested on Sunday between Argentina and Spain. Both matches live on talkSPORT. Coming up next, World Cup Game Day Drive with Messrs Goldstein and Bent live from New York.
We've seen some amazing players play for England in my lifetime, but I feel that what Bellingham is doing, even if you compare it to Kane, and Kane is an icon, Kane is one of England's greats as well, but Bellingham feels different.
Do you think?
Yeah.
You think he's the greatest player to ever play for England?